Hey everyone, and welcome back to RaisingNA, the show that now has unique graphics for the first time
Woo!
ever. We are here with episode 6. It's your favorite Proving Grounds dads with you all today, and we're here to tell you about why we love NA.
And
How you guys
fingers
doing?
crossed, it might be the last episode of Producer Cubby. So that'd be
Ooh.
great for all of us. We're
Yeah,
working
we're
on that.
getting rid of Cubby.
Yeah,
Thank
no,
God.
please, God, no, never again.
Cubby's being replaced.
But shout out to Doc for the graphics. We think they look nice.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you guys enjoy it. We're trying to keep things fun, lighthearted, and adventurous, just like how the LCS was this week.
Woo. All right. Well, I mean that's a perfect segue. Do you have any opening words before I take that and run with it, Mark?
Yeah. Oh, Mark, I actually want to do something real quick
Oh,
because we
well,
missed an episode. Mark and I, we met for the first time, which was cool. We
woo.
got drinky drinks up at a rooftop bar in St. Louis. And Smacks, you
Yes,
had a
sir.
wonderful vacation with your partner,
I did.
from what it sounded like. So, you want to share anything about that or about the land, Rafa, working your first land?
It was, I mean, a lot of other things aside, it was it was stressful, but it was also incredible. And I think something that it reminded me a lot of uh doing theater, other like entertainment stuff in high school and college. Nothing ever goes perfect on show days. Like you can prep for it all you want. Murphy's law dictates if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. And thankfully, I just had a kick-ass broadcast talent crew who were all just super damn good at their job and being able to roll with the punches, you know. So honestly, like real shout outs to Jolly, Kari, Rebel Fox, and Mazel. It was fantastic working with those four. And, you know, as the host, my priority was always trying to make them look good in the spotlight, but they made it super easy for me because they always knew what they wanted to talk about, and I just had to facilitate and create the direction they needed so that I could get them to talk about their strengths and what they are most passionate about. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to doing more. I already have ideas of what I want to do and things that I didn't expect or things I didn't even consider that now are on my mind about what to do in a live setting. Um, because there's a lot more to it than doing, a remote broadcast. And I think there's going to be, I had a couple conversations with some people, and we basically realized that, there's a lot of things that, remote casters can be super strong at. But then you go to like an actual in person event, there are things that you never considered before about being on camera that can quickly be like pointed out, like, oh, you're new at this, which is not a bad thing. There's always room to grow, right? But being able to like identify those and adjust for the next time is something that I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah. I mean, I've never stood up while casting before, so I would definitely
Oh,
be
dude, you gotta adapt the tech, man. That's how I
yeah.
save. That's the only way my voice survives is standing.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that'd be a
that's
good
super
idea.
cool, Mark. It was fun seeing you. I got to actually coach my team and only focus on them for a week, which is awesome. And that
I
LAN
love
was
it.
really well run by Maryville. So props to them.
Yeah.
And Sam, I hope you had an ossification.
I
Now we get to
did. It was
get
it was
back
great.
to business. We're gonna go over this past week of LCS Academy and Semi Pro in that order. I know that we missed a week in there, but we like keeping things recent, and we're hoping that we don't have to miss any weeks upcoming. I'm not traveling until Labor Day weekend. So yeah, get to focus on the rest of the season. And oh boy, what a week we had. We're going to start off with LCS. EG on a huge win streak. Another
Yeah.
3-0 week coming out from FlyQuest Academy squad playing in LCS. I mean, where do we want to start? It was a crazy week of LCS this week.
I mean, EG is 8-0 in their last 8 games. They have almost one win streak through the entire league. It's pretty crazy to see. And they're doing this while subbing in and out their jungler too. Contracts looks amazing. Svenskeren looks amazing. This six-man roster is very unique, I'd say, in the LCS scape, because They actually are like using that well, as opposed to the other teams who are mostly doing it out of necessity or just not telling anyone what's going on. I'm looking at you, Dignitas. Um, I'm I'm very impressed with Evil Geniuses.
That's it. There's our flame for the day.
I'm very high on this team. And I mean, yeah, I think that they probably should have gotten Player of the Week. I think it probably
Okay,
should
do
have
we
gone
want
to
to start
Danny.
there? Because I can start there.
Let's start there.
Okay.
Before we get into that, I just want to point out for Smax's credit that when we started raising NA at the very beginning before LCS started, and we are talking about like, okay, who are our, like, we had like a set 2 teams that we would think make it to Worlds from NA, and then we were looking at third seats, and Cubby was like, yeah. So Cubby was like 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves has made all the adjustments so far. Cubby is like
To be fair, that looks
damn
pretty good.
dead on
Cubby's the
spot.
most right overall.
Yeah, they're the most right so far. Number 1 in the seed right now. And so far, our 2 quote unquote guarantees are kind of struggling for that third spot. And then Smax's prediction was Evil Geniuses. His dark horse was those guys, and right now they are definitely a contender for the top 3 at the moment. And I mean, like, LCS is a super exciting time. I just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure we got the positives out before
Yeah.
we get
And
in.
Danny played Samira. Woo!
Yeah. Anytime Danny
Yeah.
plays Samira is actually
It was awesome.
the
All right.
best thing.
Instant triple kill.
So, one of my qualms with this week of LCS was the decision of Player of the Week. And before I get into why I think Danny was deserving, this is not meant to take anything away from Licorice, who got traded, went 2-1, looked really good, right? It was a close race. I can fully admit that between Danny, Ignar, Licorice, they all had good weeks. What I struggle with is that the way it was presented was, we're going to go with Licorice, and then we're going to talk about Danny for 3 minutes. And that really sits poorly with me. And I think Peter Dunn put a tweet up that he deleted, saying that Danny or Ignar should have had it. And if it's a toss-up, just go with the team that had a 3-0. I know that Empire said that the reason that they didn't get one last week was because of their strength of schedule. Well, look at the teams they took down this week. I mean, why aren't they getting the recognition that they deserve? And instead, we're going to go with Licorice, who once again looked good. Golden Guardians had a good week. They went 2-1. But if you're going to use the strength of schedule argument, they dropped the hardest game against TSM. Yes, Licorice did get a solo kill, but still got outplayed around the map by the rest of the team. And then when I look at Danny's game, this guy's hard carrying. And he's hard carrying against FBI Huhi, who FBI had a pretty egregious build on Kog'Maw, which I think was pointed out. But he's playing like Collector, Serpent's Fang, Aphelios. No one else is playing this shit. And the kid's 17, and he's doing absolute work. And then today, Ignar just goes off on his Rakan. And we're going to give it to Licorice when Golden Guardians dropped a game. And then talk about why we didn't go with Danny and Ignar for 3 minutes. I feel that was a miss for me. And I love the broadcast. They're doing a great job this year. I'm a part of it on the audio-only part, right? But not to say I have any contact the right side, but that's a miss. And I'm going to be honest and call out the misses. And I know that Peter Dunn deleted that tweet. I put a tweet up as well saying that Danny was robbed. I'm going to be leaving that one up. And I think it's very fair to be critical about that. I understand it was close, but you cannot go with Licorice and then talk for 2 or 3 minutes about how good Danny was. You have to talk about why Eric or Licorice deserve that right off the bat. And when your first reaction is, all right, here's why the 2 players that went off on the 3-0 team and have an 8-game win streak didn't deserve it this week, it just misses no matter what.
Yeah,
and so that was a miss.
You're not supporting the argument for why you gave Licorice the agreement. If your first statement after giving Licorice the award is to immediately backtrack and say, I know you guys are gonna probably ask why Danny Ignar, this is why we didn't pick them. It's like, no, just talk about the narrative of Licorice then. Fucking commit. You don't have, otherwise then the whole strength of your award means nothing.
It missed for me. So that's my qualm of the week. But if we want to start with EG, we could have a lot of nice things to say about how they're playing at the moment and how the team looks, and how the team drafts. I think that draft for them is actually, they're getting humongous advantages in the draft. And I think draft was actually a big part of the results this week. As much as I don't like to talk about it, there were some games where I looked at the draft and said 80-90% chance this team wins.
Dude, the Callista mid was badass today. That was very fun from a Blaze Olive. And then they got to flex the Ziggs bot lane. Learning from Prismal, I see you, Stixay. I see you. That was my
he gave
favorite
him a
example.
shout out on Twitter. He said,
Yeah.
"Thank you for teaching me the tech." So,
that was my favorite example, but yeah, I agree with you, Kobe. Again, to touch on the Aphelios build, I tried it in Clash. It's very difficult. It's very strange. So I have another
Yeah.
What?
It's more like caster based, right? Like you gotta
Yeah,
land.
it's very interesting. I was not ready for that. But yeah, I mean, I just gained another ounce of respect for Danny, which I didn't even know was possible. But yeah, I'm really big. I wanna hear why you think the drafts are so important for this week in particular, though.
There were a lot of games where there were teams. I have two specifically in mind, and it was the back half of games from yesterday, where I looked at the draft, and I'll start with C9 Dig. C9 had Gnar Lucian into Renekton Lee Sin for solo lanes, and Dig had a Rumble, and they had Braum bot paired with an AD that I don't remember because it wasn't that relevant. But when I look at Renekton Lee Sin and Rumble, I'm like, all right, who's going in? Or like, how do we find flanks? Because the issue with that comp is that Gnar Lee Sin or Gnar Lucian will outscale the Renekton and the Lee Sin inside lane. And also, if left unattended to, will naturally win that lane because of the ranged advantage and just how those lanes play out, right? And so when I look at Dignitas's draft and I see that you need flankers, you don't have a side like a winning side lane, and you don't have a hard engage, and like the way they played that game, Dignitas played very poorly that game, and C9 did nothing and won, and it was slightly based off a draft, slightly based off of Dignitas's. They found poor engages, and C9 just waited them out. And then, I mean, when you get to the later parts of the game, like it's just over. And that was one example where I was like, holy shit, this game was won in draft. C9 don't have to do anything, and they just win the game as it goes. Another one being COG FlyQuest. The next game, right? FlyQuest took scaling in every single lane. I know that Lissandra counters the Blanc, right, but LeBlanc and the Lissandra Olaf, like, they didn't find a single Lissandra ult that was proactive that game. And FlyQuest beat CLG with the dragon setups. So they got the second and third dragon when the comps should have no business getting the dragon at that time. They just simply outplayed CLG on the map. And then guess what? It gets to the late game, and you have Jhin and the Varus. That outscales. You have the Blanc and Lissandra. That outscales. NXI had a scaling matchup in Olaf. I'm blanking on exactly what jungler he had. Diego, thank you. And then topside, they had the Gwen. And so it's like, don't fuck up early, and then you just win the game as it goes. And guess what? FlyQuest, they snuck those two dragons, and it got the 30-minute mark, and COG couldn't even sniff a team fight. They just got smacked. And so I really, and like there were multiple examples this week where I was looking at drafts, and I was like, what is this team doing? TSM COG. COG, first game of the week, murder them in that draft. TSM cannot win that game. They do not have any way to win sides to flank the Varus. And, I mean, it was just a free game.
I remember watching that game and with Dimitri, and like 12 minutes go by, and I'm like, wait a second. CLG has a competent draft. Like, this is a draft that makes sense in the meta. I didn't even realize that I was watching CLG because this is the first time in like 3 or 4 weeks that they actually picked a strong jungle champion. It was Diana in that game.
Yeah, they played the game really well. Yeah, but I mean, like I think a lot of these comps that are being picked in the LCS right now are ones where like, if you fuck up once, the game's over. Mm-hmm. Like that Renekton Rumble Lee Sin, you fuck up once or twice, and then you don't have like hard engage, like a Nautilus Leona, which were banned away. They went with Braum, strong support. but you need crazy hard engage at that role. Like, I would have rather seen a fucking Pantheon or just something to go in and just make things wild. And, they go with Braum. You don't have hard engage. They aren't able to pull off any engage, and they just lose the game, the CLG Dig game. That was the worst game of the week, too. Like, Dig played... It was a poor draft, and they executed it really poorly, and it was kind of ugly to watch. But I'm... In this meta, I'm not as sold on the Renekton Lee Sin, and I'd rather see more set, and I want to see a higher priority on Diana. And I think that a lot of teams are banning out Xin and giving Diana away, where I would actually rather see Xin Diana match, because I know that Xin is the most powerful pick on this patch, in my opinion. But I actually think that there are ways you can match that if you take things like set. And I don't know. It's weird. I have a very different, and like the team I play with is obviously we play at a much lower level, right? Or coach, right? But I feel like some of the meta reads that we had were better. Like Ziggs should be 1-2'd on red or taken away. I think Ziggs is that busted. Like T1, first picking Ziggs on blue and winning games against Gen G. And where is Ziggs? Like, it's getting banned out in like 4 or 5. And I think that the draft prio that LCS has at the moment is different than the global meta. I know that the new patch is going to change things even more on 14. I've heard some crazy scrim shit. But I'm seeing a lot of drafts right now where it's like, we're going to take really hard engage. We don't have a way to win sides later. We don't really have like hard engage, or like we need to win sides like flank. Like we don't take winning sides. It's weird. It's really weird, some of these drafts. And I think that EG is taking advantage of that a lot.
You ready for Lilia to be back?
No.
Oh, I still think Lilia's
No.
dog
She's coming
water.
back.
No, Lilia's kind of dog water into the champs that are meta. And because of the passive changes, I was running Lilia tests today. I had a minion go do some Lilia tests for me. You don't clear you cannot full clear to get to first crab, and then you can't use the passive to go Raptor
really?
Raptor. Now, if you take an ability haste rune, you get access to chaining your passive level 2, or once you hit 2 points in Q instead of 3 points in Q. So that is interesting with the changes. But that feels bad because like you want attack speed runes, and it just feels better like with Lilia to like weave in autos with your.
See,
that's interesting.
Yeah.
See, normally
I don't think it helps her. It helps solo lane Lilia, but that's it. And if she can be flexed, then she's dangerous. But no.
Normally, Cubby, when you talk about like jungle stuff, that usually fascinates me and gets me like super thinking. But I yawned because Lilia is literally the fucking. I hate that champion so much. And when she was first introduced into the game, I was like, no. As a jungle main, that champion, like I know there's a lot of players that I respect. I got a lot of elo playing Lilia in the past year, or they played a lot of Lilia and she's useful. I don't know, man. Okay. I like playing against that champion in solo queue. When she was at her strength, I just felt like I could not interact with her whatsoever. So
she broke the game on the first clear.
Right.
Like going Raptor to Raptors or like Raptors to Wolves, or late invading, stealing Raptors and then contesting red when you're level 2. It's pretty wild. So
yeah.
Yeah.
She allowed you to do cool things, and I loved when I was casting the LGL with Joshi, and we watched Boogie from V3 do like this really creative start where they invaded Raptor to Raptor, but then they also had their top lane Scion do their red buff, so that they basically denied both red buffs without having to commit the jungler from like one starting your own side red buff. You can do their Raptors and their red buff and Krugs full clear, and then get back to your other side of the jungle. And if they realize, oh, they did my red buff, the other jungler tries to start blue and invade your red's gone because the Scion took it thanks to the undead passive. So
that was very sick. I really liked that.
Yeah.
That strategy.
So yeah, there's like cool stuff you can do. As just someone that likes playing aggressively in jungle, she just doesn't let you do that when she is in the meta. She just gets away with bullshit, and it sucks.
Yeah.
It's just a personal...
So they took the bullshit away though. But yeah.
To rope it around back to what you were saying, Cubby, the Ziggs being available for bot laners and for mid laners, I think is really interesting because the champion is so different from what all of the other meta stuff is
It's
in
so
both
broken.
roles.
It's
Uh,
so broken.
it's very broken. So
Yeah.
to get that out of the way, I agree with you. I think it's very strong. I think it's very broken. It's going to be difficult for teams to convince players to play that. Yeah, I think in mid and in bot lane right now.
Oh,
Honestly, I
I
do
think
think
it's
that.
such an easy sell. If you get first Rift Herald, it's first brick. Like between Satchel Charge and Shelly, it's 3.5 points.
I
Yeah.
understand that part of it. Like from a team standpoint and from a like strength standpoint, you're 100% right. But whenever champions like these come around, it's always like you get some early adopters and they're like, "Oh, this is pretty good." And then it usually remains as those people that are the ones playing it and everyone else is not getting on the hype train at all because
I
of just like player comfort and just like meta momentum and everything. Like the bot laners have been playing marksman for 10 years. So they're gonna have that. I'm grimacing as well. Like
I
I'm
don't
disappointed,
yeah.
but it is true.
I don't
It is
agree with
true.
that point for this pick because I think it's so meta breaking that you have to play it and just fucking drop ego and who gives a fuck. Like that's how good Ziggs is. Like it's getting
I agree.
B1. Like it's that good. Like and it's so hard to beat because it stalls the game. If you and also like the way it's played, not only does it stall the game, but if you ever get river control over an objective, you're fucked. Like the other team is just fucked. You just throw minefield and the raptor ramp or the ramp that like goes like around blue buff. No one can
You can't.
walk in. There are no counters to the pick. You get turrets for free, and you just accelerate a game where we're also in the meta where you just play marksman mid. Like it's double
Yeah.
AD with like AP jungle. It's so good, and I'm
Mm.
so surprised that teams are not playing this. Like
It's
the
AP Caitlyn, but better. That's what it actually is. Because
So
you have range and lane, you have poke, you have traps that are unavoidable, and you can hold chokes very well. But the difference is you have a larger effective range because your Q is longer than Caitlyn auto attacks, so it's even better than Caitlyn.
you want to
And you
hear a
kill
hot
turrets
take?
faster.
You want to hear a
I
hot
do.
take? So this LCS was on the same patch as Gateway Legends
Mm.
live, right? If I'm not mistaken. 11 point.
That sounds right to me.
I think the top collegiate teams drafted better than some of the LCS teams. I think the teams that won an LCS this past week, like Golden Guardians, are adopting things like Ziggs because they have it in their
Right.
academy squad. But when I look at like what collegiate teams were doing in Gateway Legends, and they were heavily prioritizing Nocturne, Zhao, Ziggs, and then of course, I mean there's too many fucking things to ban. There's like Gwen, there's
it's
Viego.
There are so many
it's a
strong
lower
champions.
level of play, and
Sure,
so
it's a lower
like
level play. So, but like no one's banning Nocturne in LCS. Like, is that just like we just no one's playing Ziggs? A majority of people are not playing Ziggs, right?
teams
So
are
like,
starting to figure out that you can punish Nocturne because he crashes waves at weird times, and so like most Nocturne lanes you're crashing on waves 2 and 4. And it's a meta where crashing on wave 3 is really valuable because then you guarantee crab prio. And teams are starting to punish that you can gank Nocturne on different windows, and he's fucked.
mhm.
And this is why Nocturne's getting through. Now,
Assuming that Joshi talked about Nocturne in his stream, so if you're interested in that,
yeah,
go.
I mean that's tempo stuff though, which is very true
Yeah.
and why he's meta breaking at the moment. And I still think that like Nocturne is an insanely impressive pick, and if you get ahead as Nocturne, it's oh my god, like your TP, you're just guaranteed a 5v4 from ahead, right? If you have TP,
Mhm.
Champ's still bullshit, but there are ways that you can play around it and beat it, and teams are starting to figure that out because it like it's so meta breaking. Like sometimes like in any meta, it's like all right, we have to let this pick through. How do we beat it? And so you just figure it out as time goes on, right?
Right.
And he crashes waves at weird timers, you can punish that. And that's where people are starting to like figure out, hey, this is how we beat Nocturne, right?
There are
So
there are
just
definitely
just to
other annoying
clarify,
champions that feel
that
more unpunishable. Like, I think Xin Zhao's one. I think Akali is one. Go ahead, Mark.
So to clarify, you beat Nocturne because you memorize when he wants to crash and overextend himself, and you just gank. Essentially,
That's one way. Yes, he has very weird timers where he wants to crash that don't like leave him more susceptible to ganks.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think of an example where Nocturne got punished properly for this. But there was one game, I think day 2, where it happens. But I'm trying to figure out which one it was. Anyway, we're kind of getting outside of like the teams and LCS. And
the
more
reason,
like meta discussion.
I just to wrap that up, the reason why I say that is because I want to elevate Smax's point further that LCS teams once again is slow to adapt to new things and not willing to try things because they want to rely on comfort and they just don't like the scrim and they players have said this too. Teams have said that they cannot dedicate a lot of practice time to trying out innovative picks and new stuff, right? And so they just stick to comfort, right? So and even if you have and we all have the opinion that Ziggs is meta breaking and people like they're not going to see it until they get punished and they see how fucking broken Ziggs is. So they're going to be a week behind. So, like we're not disagreeing with you. Yeah. We're just stating the fact that we think we have that opinion. Some LCS teams don't because they're behind.
I think that the reason for that is maybe format and best of one. There's a lot of pressure to just win that one game, but also I think that it's a game where there are a lot of ways to win games and a lot of things that are unexplored. And I think that if you're a pro team, you should be exploring all these things. So
there is one team that is exploring the unexplored continuously in this split, and that is CLG. They're still picking the strangest junglers imaginable.
At least they're trying, man. They're at the bottom of the barrel.
All right, so we're gonna go from EG to CLG. This is a drastic jump.
It is, but I still okay. So it's been a bit since we've been on the show. Since we've been on the show, they have picked Olaf, Rek'Sai, Morvi, Lissandra mid still, and I am just left wondering what is going on. Why is Broxah still thinking that all these champions are acceptable to be playing? Like, this is I am so upset. And to top it all off, the fucking Rek'Sai build where he goes Gore Drinker into tank. What is the point? What are you even playing the champion for? You're just picking Jarvan, except you can't do anything. Oh my god, it was infuriating. I hated it.
I think my diagnosis of COG is that they figured out that they cannot win unless they do some sort of cheese on the first 3 waves.
But they did! They beat TSM!
Well, yeah, exactly. That's true. Because TSM drafted like the worst team imaginable against what CLG had. Like CLG drafted like humans and just won the game, right? I think that CLG though, like Pobelter is he's the worst mid, and it's not close in LCS, and that's why he's on the Sandra Galio duty, and they just cannot they cannot win unless they cheese, and I really think that's where CLG is at the moment.
Wait, just want to clarify. You think Pobelter is the worst mid in LCS?
It's not even close.
He's worse than a lot of the academy mids.
It's not even close.
Oh man. Well,
a lot of the academy mids are really good.
Well,
Ryoma Soligo's in there for some fucking reason still.
Yeah, we can take that beast at a different time. I don't want to compare him too much to academy mids. It's a different level of competition. Yeah. But he got gapped by triple, so that's one.
Sure. Oh, okay. Let's talk about FlyQuest. FlyQuest is more fun. Huge congrats to the guys on FlyQuest. Tomo just got a 7-0 week, which has never been done. Kumo. Sorry. Kumo.
I love Kumo.
Their names are so similar. And they're on the same team. You can't blame me that much. Kumo just got a 7-0 week, which has never been done in NA. mostly because of format, but still very impressive stuff. I absolutely loved watching all of his games. He even admitted to this, but today he kind of ran it down. But the other games were really good, and I was very impressed by him in the entirety of FlyQuest this week. They got a 7-0.
I'm just really happy that I got a lot of flame on the Academy stream Thursday when I said that I think that the top 2 Academy teams are better than the bottom 3 LCS teams, and FlyQuest proved me right. So shout outs to those guys. I love saying I
It's
told you
true.
so. And guess what?
It is
100 Thieves
absolutely
Academy
true.
and FlyQuest Academy are better than the bottom 3 LCS teams. Maybe not
Yep.
Golden Guardians now. They made a change. We'll see. But I on League Night with Raz and Kelsey's podcast that we do with League Day, I said, if people are asking FlyQuest like why they're making this change, it's because their academy is straight up better than their LCS team, and I think they proved it.
They're
Like
so
they're
good.
playing better league, and I think for the LCS team playing an academy this week, maybe that's the kick in the ass they needed. They looked really good. They were beating teams, just absolutely crushing them early, which frankly I expect out of them. I know that they're going back and forth with what roster they want to use moving forward. I think most of that is in whether or not they want to use NXI and Triple or Jose Dioto and Palafox. I think that at the moment, Tomo and Diamond are playing significantly better than Johnson and Dreams.
Agreed.
That said, I mean, this is a swap that ended up working, and props to FlyQuest, and props to Fantix and Loyota and the entire staff over there who had the Academy team in good form. And they just went 3-0 in LCS. And if you're an NA fan and you're not watching Academy, then wake the fuck up and tune in. Those teams are good. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, I'll talk about this more when we get to the Academy section, but I had a discussion in Rafa's server and Discord, and I wanted to extend it to this too, that if you are someone who is less interested in LCS because there aren't as good like player storylines and it doesn't feel like the hero building is as good and you're not getting as invested in NA players specifically, watch Academy. It's nearly all NA players, and they're all super good. Well, not all of them, but the vast majority of them are very, very good, and they're showing it every single week with 4 games each. So it is very fun to watch. Obviously, we're a little bit biased for Academy because we're casting it.
A
I'm
little
casting it
bit.
now,
A little bit.
which is woo. But yeah, definitely watch Academy if that fits your description and you want to get more invested in NA as like to the player level. I mean the FlyQuest Academy guys just showed us why that is for this week. So hell yeah.
Yeah. The other thing too about this is that people are like, I've noticed that actually a lot of people that like to shit on NA are not even from NA. They're, they're international fans, and they like to shit on the fact that like, wow, they look at these stupid Americans that, or these NA people, like their viewership is going down, and haha, because all the players are shit. They can't do anything at Worlds. Of course, no wonder NA like is losing viewership and whatnot. And the reality is, yeah, we haven't done well internationally in quite some time. There's a couple of moments where you had teams like Team Liquid make it all the way to MSI finals.
That was cool.
You had you had C9 be the first team in NA to make it to a semifinal appearance and Worlds 2018.
Easy
And
bracket
apart
matchup, but they did it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, MSI 2016 CLG legendary finals
That
run
was
as
fucking
well.
legit.
Yeah, like
Them and
they're
TL beating the Chinese teams were the 2 best moments that NA's had.
Yeah.
So yeah.
absolutely. It was straight up awesome. The point is, we don't get many good international moments, right? And therefore, people just consider like, oh, well, NA underperforms. We shouldn't even be a major region. We should just be like a minor region at this point. You know what? Let them believe that. Push the fact that we are trying to now facilitate developing our talent development in our region, and like if you don't want to watch LCS, like we don't want to take anything away from LCS because they're making a lot of great changes to like push
Yeah.
their product, and they're being a lot more like they've added a lot of content that was frankly was missing
It's been
and
so
was needed.
good.
And it's a
The
lot of good
broadcast
stuff.
has been really sick
Yeah.
for this split. I've been a huge fan of it.
Yeah, they added a new broadcast talent that has really added like a freshness to the show. Not to take anything or throw punches towards like the veterans on the broadcast, but just adding new people to it has like, you know, livened up the pacing and it's just kind of brought a new fresh taste. But Academy is super cool. Like, consider Academy like watching something like the LCO or the PCS, where they know that the region isn't like going to be a world's contender. They don't try to fucking sell you this bullshit story that like, yeah, we're gonna go to worlds and we're gonna beat Korea, we're gonna beat China, we're gonna beat EU. You know, don't sell them that. But what you can show them is that there are these players that are coming straight from a North American solo queue environment, which in the past has been long underdeveloped, long underfacilitated, long under nurtured, or just not nurtured at all. And we're finally showing we fucking care, and we're putting investments into it, and it is already showing results. When I talked about this with so many people in the past, like, yo, LCS orgs, just take an L for 2-3 years. I know it's not like, and this is why I should never be put in charge of running an org, because I would make super terrible financial decisions. But I would just run an org into the ground for 2-3 years, just developing only NA players, and I would finally see a profit when they all beat everyone else. When they're finally like, they've taken some time to become team players. Look at fucking NXI came in for 100 Thieves next as a sub player to fill in for Kenvi after Kenvi and Tenacity got upgraded to the Academy roster. He kicked ass in 100 Thieves next. He took the Honda Scouting Grounds MVP award in the fall, and now he's taking games off of the best fucking junglers in the LCS. I mean, like, what more reason do you need to say, wow, you know what? Maybe if we invest in NA talent, we can actually turn something around. If that doesn't change your fucking mind, I don't know what will.
The reason we're a meme is because we spend 5 times more money than all those regions and still lose internationally, and watching those regions, they're still better than us. So playing devil's advocate, we're the LCS. Just watch a middle of the pack team, 2 middle of the pack teams playing LPL, and you will realize why we are so fucked going internationally. It's not even funny. Anyway, that's my devil's
lowering
advocate.
NA. No.
No, I mean, you guys, sometimes you got to be honest, and I agree
you're
about
right.
everything about investing in NA talent. But we are so fucked internationally this year, it's not even funny. Like,
sure, and that's fine.
Please send. I'm hoping that we send good staffs, because maybe we have like hope. But if anything, I think that LCS teams should be pretty embarrassed that FlyQuest Academy stepped up and beat them. And shout outs to the coaching staff that had that team in good form. And I mean, this game, like, there's a lot about this game that has to be coached, and I mean, props to FlyQuest Academy. It's a fun storyline for the week. I also think Triple would have made a great player of the week, but yeah. Anyway, moving on. More teams to talk about, and we are.
Yeah, I've got
really
2
far
more. I've got 2 more teams that are really interesting to me here, and then I kind of just want to move on, if that's okay.
I think we need to hit on C9 and TSM, who both went 1 and 2 this week.
Those are the ones that I was about to talk about.
Yes.
C9, TSM, and 100 Thieves are all slumping a little bit as far as the results are concerned. And I'm curious to know why you think that is, Cody, as the resident LCS expert.
TSM can't draft. 100 Thieves against Golden Guardians were testing a new comp and got beat fair and square. The bot lane didn't respect the gank timer. They warded the tri-brush. GG, good comms. They called it out, and they iconic walk through river. They won that, and the game was like really fucking doomed from there. They got beat by EG. EG's hot, and I think that EG had a very good game, as And then C9 is actually the biggest question mark because they lost a bloodbath to FlyQuest Academy.
Yeah.
Also, I think that one of the great parts about Academy is that it's the best two. A lot of these teams play with nothing to lose in those 2 games. And I think we really saw that shine in game 1 as FlyQuest Academy played with nothing to lose and won. I think that they're like the mentality and having that, I think there is a lot to that. And one of the reasons that I don't like best of ones. And players don't either from talking with them.
Yeah.
C9 concerns me because they lose that game. Dignitas, out of all 10 teams and 15 games played, Dignitas, their second game of the week, was the worst game I've seen played from any team, right? And Dignitas did pick up a win today against CLG, but they play that game abysmally. And I think if you ask them and that roster, they would agree. And then C9 drops to EG. And we keep on looking at C9 like, where's the magic? And I think that the roster swap for them it completely destroyed the confidence of King and Sven. Looking at the Academy team and the LCS team, it looks like the confidence of both those players has just gone out of the sails. And I hope they get it back in time for playoffs, because if they are playing at the highest level, King and Isles are the best bot lane in the Academy. They were last split. And Sven and Vulcan were the best bot lane in LCS. And that's not the case this split for either bot lanes. I really think it's a confidence thing.
So
Yeah.
the Academy thing interests me because I think the Cloud9 bot lane performed quite well against FlyQuest in Academy. I
Well,
want
yeah,
to.
but FlyQuest bot lane is bad, so that's fine.
Yes, I'm aware of this.
They're getting slammed by
but
Luger Poom. That's what I'm worried about.
That is true. Luger and Poom are crazy.
Luger is second best player in Proving Grounds behind contracts. Kumo's third. But
I have been impressed by King and Isles in Academy still, regardless. Because
yeah, but like they're not as good as they were last split. So
yeah,
Yeah.
I suppose that's right.
Like,
I
they're
don't
good,
think Cloud9's
but-
going to be second in Proving Grounds again. I think that's a really far stretch at this point. So
Mhm.
like that just by itself is
I would agree.
not good, because they're, if by all expectations, they should be the first place team coming into this split, because Noarg is gone, and like Firefire's not here, Valley's not here, Big's not here, and Viper and Anda have been playing on whatever crazy ping. They're not anymore, but regardless, Cloud9 should have come into this Academy. I'm getting into Academy again. I'm sorry. Cloud9 should have been coming into this Academy split as first, but they're falling apart. But again, I do want to mention that I don't think that King and Isles are performing bad.
No, they're playing good,
So-
but they're just not the best anymore. And that's why I think it's a confidence issue.
Okay.
Like it just like we interviewed King with League Day, and
Yeah.
he had the most tragic answer. Like he said, "Thank you for the fans that are still supporting me, even though I replaced Sven."
Right. I remember that.
That is a tragic answer. And like I think that King did his best in the LCS. I don't think that he's better than Sven, but fuck, Sven's an all-time Western talent, right? Like he has won LEC and LCS and gone to semis and worlds on way back in Origin when he was like, going under a different tag, right? I mean, it's tough to replace a player like that. And it just completely took the confidence out of King. Like that's my impression. And I don't know this like from talking behind the scenes. I think King's really fucking good, but when I look at King and Sven, like I think that swap really hurt both their confidence. And it did not help C9 in the long run. So yeah.
Yeah. Bot lane swaps are so hard to do right, I feel, from like an inner org perspective, where like it's just really hard to say to your players that you're swapping in and out, like, hey, this is what you provide that is not like the same thing, but is valuable, and then this is another player that is separately valuable in the bottom lane role. Like I'll bring it back to a successful example right now, that is Contracts and Svenskeren, who are doing very different things for the team. They're coming in with very different team plans, and they're both working. They're both different, and they're both valuable to have on this team. But if you're if you're King and Sven, or if you're Johnson and Tomo, like what do those players do differently that from each other than just clicking better? I don't have an answer. So for a role like that, I think you bring up a really valid point, Cubby. Like what a for just like giving King some time, it's gonna feel really bad for both of them, and it clearly was from that interview. So I don't know. I I don't want to like
We can't speculate
pin
what's
this
going on.
entirely.
Yeah, we can't
Yeah,
speculate like what's going on behind the scenes. But I
right.
think that when I look at the decisions that the staff made, it didn't affect the players in a positive light. They're not playing as well. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I agree.
And you know what, Cubby? That goes to that just shelling out $6 million for a player or however much money for a player does not automatically buy you wins. And the amount of careless spending for these for imports and players, while the track record and the things that came with them sure makes them an attractive buyout. Like, if the facilitation of those players is just as important. And
yeah,
clearly,
I don't want to go as far as like don't spend the money to buy out these talented players, but I think that what you're getting at with the facilitation and staff, like that matters a lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's something
And
that we don't talk about a lot, and
well,
how
it's hard to talk about because like we can't see it.
sure, we
Right.
can't see it, right? And that sucks, because then you can't quantify it.
Yeah,
You can't put a number on it and then go and justify it, like, okay, so if it's not the players, then but then it just goes to show that, like, if you're having academy players beat however much money Perks was, however much money Sven was.
that game was a fucking fiesta. I'd be more concerned about the other two, where FlyQuest systematically beat LCS teams playing the map.
Sure, I, my my point still remains. Like,
Okay.
if you just have a damn good coaching staff, and you take prospects that are, in comparison, far more cheaper, far cheaper than buying EU imports, Eastern imports that cost you millions and millions of dollars, and it's sinking your org. Like, even if your org can afford it with the merchandise, whatnot, it's just more reason. It's like, why aren't you just like saving yourself money and then doing this, and then, like, because it goes back to this bullshit, this lie that, you know what, we are going to field a competitive international team. At this point, you are lucky if you get to Worlds. And from then on, if you get out of groups, that's a fucking miracle, because that is something that NA just struggles to do every year.
I
So
mean,
why not just focus on developing for the next year instead? I don't know, man.
eh, I want teams that want to push internationally, but also respect domestic teams that realize they don't have the pocketbooks to do that.
Sure.
Like, if you're Team Liquid, you have the money to do it, so do it. I don't get when teams that don't have the money to do it try and do it and then flounder.
Yeah. No, that I can agree with that.
Okay.
Like, if you're 100 Thieves, you have all this fucking merch money, you're throwing, parties to celebrate, your new clothing
And
line.
to be fair to 100 Thieves, Abadagi is the best man in the LCS. You can't change my mind.
Oh
about
yeah,
that.
I don't know.
He's
Like,
been
I mean,
unreal.
100 Thieves so far have made the best, like, purchases for wins. If we're gonna go down that route, they picked up Abadaga and they picked up Reaper, and that has completely 180'd that roster. And now they, at this rate, they will lead to be the number 1 seed going into Worlds.
Well,
And maybe they can be competitive internationally. I'm not going to hold my breath. If they get out of groups, I'll celebrate. I'll drink to that.
FBI is probably still in the bottom half of most expensive ADs in the league still too.
Dude, I wish we don't know.
as
I wish
well.
contracts were public. Oh, just
Yeah.
I was having a discussion over the weekend with someone. Conversations would be so much more interesting if we had a price tag on everyone, or like a link. I like talking like traditional sports. It is a conversation that I consistently have with like my buddies about this. I really wish this was public, but I also
It's
get that
not there
like
yet.
I don't like talking about like how much money a 17-year-old is making and like treating them like
Yeah.
an item. I also get the stigma around that, but I
It's
really wish that
interesting.
stuff was public. So
I feel like in like 8 years we'll probably have that, whether it's morally correct or not. But
I want it
we're
now.
still very early into it.
It would make the league and the discussion around the league 10 times better. Okay. Anything else that we want to say? We haven't talked about Immortals. We haven't talked about Dig that much. We haven't talked about TL at all.
Yeah. So,
Immortals went 0-3.
firstly, as we're still talking about LCS, I do want to remind everyone that we did take a week off. I think was it 2 weeks off?
No, it's only one.
It was
Well,
only
we
one.
took a week off like back to back.
Yeah, it feels like it's been a while, but that's why this podcast is going to be long. Talk show actually, excuse me. The podcast is on Thursdays. But yeah, that's why this episode is going long. We're giving you it probably
Fair
won't
warning.
be twice as long. But anyway, yeah, so Immortals is the one that I find a little bit more interesting. Team Liquid is trying to implement their like double top laner. I think it's really interesting.
So you're giving
that,
TL a hall
Jenkins played.
pass going 2-1.
Yeah, I think 2-1 is perfectly acceptable.
Okay.
Like they're still trying out like Jenkins and Alfari together, which I think is interesting, but they did say they were going to do that, so I think that's cool. Alfari being back in, he seems to be doing pretty well.
It's a 2-1, by the way, that was
Yeah.
gifted by a Yasui Riftwalk.
Are we going to talk about Dignitas? I feel like I've already thrown them enough shade, and that's all I'm going to continue doing.
I think the Dig had. They beat CLG. They should have beat TL. The fact they didn't is disappointing. I really like their game plan going into that. Yasui made one mistake and the game was over. That sucks. But also, Vigar V2 did a great video about how they fucked up the setup and how they weren't playing towards Kassadin's sides, which is correct. You just give Kassadin any skirmish past 16, he wins. You perma win the game by doing that, and Dig fucked up that setup. But
yeah, Kassadin's so linear too. You'd think that if they were scrimming with this champion,
the game they played against C9 was terrible, and so and this team like. Coming into this week, we're like, all right, this is the dark horse. Do we still think they're the dark horse? Like, did they play TL well enough in that loss to get that result?
Absolutely not. I think Dig and CLG are the worst teams in the league.
Okay.
I think they're bottom two. I don't think it's disputed at all. I think Fly Academy is better than both of them. I think GG is better than both of them with Licorice.
We'll see what FlyQuest does moving forward, but yeah.
That is going to be interesting when FlyQuest decide whether they continue sending the Academy squad in place of the LCS squad.
Yeah. I mean, next week they have to, right? They just got a 3-0, so.
Yeah, I mean, there's also the conversation that, like, well, technically LCS team, like, 4-0'd Academy, but that was with Kumo in the roster, and now they're getting Philip, who is an unknown quantity. So I would heavily advocate for the LCS team to take another
Kumo is LCS permanently with this change.
I know.
He is just always there. And for the current Academy team, so the previous LCS team, we did hear from Jose that they have been playing with Kumo a lot because of the roster changes. Yeah. But he is still most familiar with the Academy guys that are currently in LCS.
Yeah.
Let's end the LCS conversation and transition to Academy with this.
Sure.
Because I'm interested in what you two would do. Anything on TL? Are we getting a hall pass since they're reincorporating?
I personally am.
TL are still recovering, and like I feel bad because that whole Jat Afari situation is
and Santorin.
Well, that's medical, and so
I
hope that Santorin's. I think we all want to see him performing at the highest level, and if anyone's dealt with migraines,
yes,
fucking suck. It's
Yeah.
That's tough.
It,
But so that's
yeah.
separate than like the Alfari Jat thing that we don't know a lot about.
Yeah.
Besides the fact that Jersey
Right.
Mike's is the best fast food chain.
God, that was actually a hilarious
That was a very good
piece of
video.
content they did. Um, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, man, I wish I would know what was said, behind the scenes for clarity, but at the same time, if I ask that and then I also advocate for something that happened a couple this past not this past weekend, but the other past weekend, and I'm telling people it is none of your fucking business. So stop putting your nose where it doesn't belong and let it die and let it move on.
And to be fair, it was a better PR announcement than what Dig had. So
Yeah.
At the same time, though, I feel like it wouldn't be out of the question if in like November or December we get a Breaking Point Part 2.
no, I don't want that shit. And I don't
I
think
feel like
I don't think anyone would ever do that with how far the league has come from then.
probably not, but I mean, I vividly remember the video where Cloud9 released the reaction of Sneaky to being benched.
There are just like some things.
Oh, I didn't see that.
There are some things that like just happen in like the esports timeline that could just never happen now, and I miss
Yeah.
them. But like, we're never gonna get a Dunzo manifesto again. And yeah. Anyway, we spent an hour on this, so let's wrap up with what would you do if you were the manager of FlyQuest? You just want 7-0 this week with your LCS team playing an academy this week. Your academy team playing an LCS this week. And the only thing we know going forward is that Kumo is not going to be doing double duty anymore. They have the real Phillip, an alum of XTGN, by the way, where he played with a mid laner known as CP Freeze, now going by the tag Bradley. And probably one of the best top laners available that's not under contract at the moment. And I know that real Phillip was also sitting in on, he tried out for the TL spot. I think I can leak that. Yeah. So he was in those as well. They went with Dokla.
Long Beach Gerb Nation.
And now on FlyQuest. If you were the FlyQuest GM, what would you do moving forward? Let's start with Rafa.
I would straight up just say let the FlyQuest Academy play another week because they deserved it. They got the 3-0, right? And the LCS team needs, after having abysmal performances as a team, I'm not pointing out individuals, but as a team, they've played abysmally throughout. Sure, yeah, you can do all that, because I'm very personally attached to the success of Jose Diallo, and so it pains me to see him, go from such a promising start at the beginning of spring, and it's like, okay, he's finally in LCS. This is going to be super exciting, and after seeing him on Rainbow 7 during Worlds, it's like he gets to do all this cool shit, and he just is not facilitated in the same way. And I don't, it goes to show that once again, team facilitation and how the roster talks to each other and how things are paired up can greatly affect how a quote unquote star player like Jose Diallo can perform. And I would be immediately just let Phillip play with this new roster for the LCS now Academy roster, and the Academy roster now LCS continue playing out. The only thing is that Jose Diallo looked absolutely fantastic when he was playing specifically with Kumo. And so
that's true.
And we had an interview with him on Academy where I was like, how where did this synergy come from? And he told us that Kumo split time scrimming with both the Academy and the LCS squad, and anytime that he played with Kumo, he felt a lot better because Kumo was very vocal about wave timers, and he was able to manipulate the lane state incredibly well to facilitate Jose Diallo for early aggressive moves. So, and that's how Jose likes to play. He wants to play things like Lee Sin. He wants to play things like Xin Zhao and just snowball the game from there. And if you have a top laner that is calling those things out and telling you, hey, if you come in 30 seconds, I'm crashing this big ass wave, and this top laner is gonna get fucked if you come and gank him, then it's huge for us. And so that begs the question then,
they were really good together.
Yeah, they were.
Very,
and so
very good.
that begs the question, maybe it was Licorice and Jose Diallo just never had that type of synergy before,
Yes.
or so I guess there it is, right? And now the fear is that since they're going to play with Philip in Academy and they're having the LCS roster play in Academy, is FlyQuest new Academy or the Jose FlyQuest, are they now going to perform badly because they don't have Kumo, who is facilitating Jose Dioto? Because in all of their wins, like Johnson and Dreams were serviceable. They were getting
Yeah.
outclassed or like being
Johnson was getting
matched by
outclassed on
Academy front
Ziggs.
lanes. Yeah,
Yes.
and the only reason why they won the games against like Cloud9 Academy, for example, is because Kumo and Jose just shit on Darshan endlessly. Endlessly.
Who
They
has been
took
having an
crazy.
incredible academy split, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Smacks, what
Like
would you do?
Okay. So, a couple things I want to get out of the way. One, it should be FlyQuest's goal at this point to do whatever it takes to get into playoffs for LCS.
I agree.
They shouldn't put as much into Academy, in my opinion.
I-
Even though they have serviceable players.
Let's not invest as much into the AAA league, but yet invest into the main league where our franchise is. All right,
Okay.
keep going.
Thanks, Cubby, for being sarcastic about my
I'm
take.
sorry. It's too easy.
I just want to make that clear. They,
You're right.
as cool as Academy is, and as well as they're doing there, they should have that should be where the priorities lie. That being said, there are a few things that are for certain for me. One is obvious. Kumo is remaining in LCS for the rest of the year. Because that's why they got Philip. Two, Tomo is also remaining in LCS for the rest of the year. The rest of the year, in my opinion.
That was not enough.
For the same reason that I just mentioned about King and Sven. Swapping in and out 80 carries makes no sense. There's no reason to do that unless they are such a vocal presence on like a certain team and you really need that, but that's so rare to have. Like it's really only Prismal that is doing that to the public's eye, right?
That we know of.
So like that doesn't make much sense at all to me to swap in and out 80 carries. I think Tomo's performing better. I think the general public thinks that Tomo's performing better. I think FlyQuest clearly thinks that Tomo's performing better. Just keep him in for the rest of the year. The rest is a little bit up in the air. I'd say that you probably want to keep Diamond in LCS. That'd be my move. But from there, I think that you can be a little bit flexible. I think Palafox Jose are quite good. And same as Rafa, I think that Jose and Kumo looked astoundingly good together. That being said, I'm also a big NXI fan. I'm also a big Triple fan. So I think that the two of them had a really good week in LCS. And I think both of them do deserve to be there. So I think they should, from this point onward, if this was me, which is I guess the prompt, Kumo, Tomo, and Diamond are the LCS there, and then your mid jungle duos are practicing different things, and you can see which thing that you want to put in at any given moment, because it seems like the synergy is there for both of them in different positions.
Yeah. I'll keep mine short. Play the academy team till they lose. If you're gonna swap anyone, it's gonna be Jose and Palafox in.
Yeah.
I think that Tomo Diamond have proved that they're playing much better. The thing,
Yep.
so you mentioned that Kumo looked really, or Jose did look good with Kumo, and he said that in an interview. Well, first off, Kumo's been having the fucking split of his life in Academy. He is leading the league in gold diff at 10 in his role. He has a KDA in top lane that is 4.9, one higher than everyone else, and for a top laner, that KDA is insane. He has proven that in this new meta, he can play all the champs well. Gwen, still a little bit left to be desired, but it's getting there. So I think that Jose Diego is saying, like, oh, I'm playing well with Kumo. Well, if you're playing an academy with Kumo, you're probably going to look good. The big difference for me is that in the academy, split or those games, Dreams and Jose Ditto were actually syncing up and working together, which is what we never saw on the LCS stage. And I think that while I Will Dominate's tweets were harsh about FlyQuest not looking motivated on the LCS stage, I went through some of those pro views, and when you aren't timing summoner spells, my fucking collegiate team does that. And so I'm going to bully you as an LCS team if you are not timing sums. That's
Did that in Clash yesterday.
There is, that's not, yesterday, but like a couple weeks before. There is some validity to what Dom's saying. And sometimes, there are things in pro sports that exist that help both teams. I think this trade of Licorice helps both teams. I think that FlyQuest swapping out their rosters, FlyQuest Academy is playing better in the LCS roster at the moment. Swapping teams is good. And so I think FlyQuest are making the right decisions. I credit them for that. Congrats to their coaching staff who got their academy team in this sort of form and were able to do that on the LCS stage this week. That's pretty fucking unheard of. And I'm excited to talk about more academy now that we're finally done with our hour segment on LCS. And moving into academy, 100 Thieves are slumping. Let's start there.
Okay. So firstly, if we're talking if we're starting with 100, they played against FlyQuest. And FlyQuest, we just spent a while talking about it. They look very good. Their LCS team was in with Kumo. I think it was a surprise to everyone at just how good they did. I remember talking with the three of us and Kangas beforehand, and we were like, the narrative should probably be that C9A is really good, and if C9A wins and 100 wins, then it's shouldn't be too surprised. And then FlyQuest is 4-0, and we're like, oh,
pretty dominant 4-0.
Yeah, I mean that was pretty sick. I guess these guys are legit. I mean, this is an LCS team after all, and so our planned narrative and the actual happenstance of it all was very different, and I think that took us surprise on the cast, but it definitely took us by surprise the second day against 100, who had just previously lost to TSM. They lost to Team Liquid 2-0, and then they dropped both games to FlyQuest. So I'm a little bit flabbergasted by that. I know
TSM,
they split with TSM. Yeah. The Dr. Mundo Senna bot lane was pretty dope, and they had double tank set up where Tenacity solo killed Poncer on Volibear against Renekton like he always does, and TSM picked a million assassins again, and they couldn't get through the tanks. So anyway, 100 is definitely slumping. I
mean, it's considered slumping because they're the #1 academy team, right, and they're dropping games. So anytime you drop games, that's quote unquote considered slumping. I don't know.
Not only are they dropping games, though, they got 2-0'd by TOA.
Yes.
They got 2-0'd by FlyQuest LCS, and they split with TSM. And for a team that was the dominant team, they're 16-8. Well, 5 of those losses came in the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
That's a slump.
Well,
yeah,
unfortunately, they didn't get the chance to prove that they were better than the bottom half of LCS teams, like they said, which is,
they can keep on proving that on their own and by winning academy and proving grounds, and I still believe that. I know they didn't. I know they didn't get the results, but looking at their play, I firmly believe that.
Yeah, I mean it's one series, right?
And that second game against FlyQuest they should have won. They kind of choked the Dragon Baron calls.
Yeah, I'm still of the opinion that while 100 Thieves is a very dominant team, and there's a lot of things that they do that is intelligent, there's many times, especially early on in the summer split, where this team just flipped for no reason whatsoever because they're just individually better. They won those fights, They got leads, and then from there they're like, okay, we got leads, now we know how to close out the game. And sometimes that frustrates me because it's like Kenby is flashing forward or forcing these fights where it's like there is nothing to fight for, Shane. Why are you doing this? But they win it anyway. And
had
it's like,
He did that
all
against
right, well, I
FlyQuest
guess
too, and they won the fight.
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I value that. I think that it's really fucking good play on his part. And they're not fighting over nothing. Like, the one against FlyQuest was right before Dragon. And they won the fight in members, but lost in HP and then threw
Okay, but
the
that's not for nothing though. If you go back to week 2, they're literally forcing fights when a dragon is not coming up for like 3 minutes. The turrets or wave states are not even in position where you can threaten to take towers. There's no Rift Herald available. It's literally Kenvi just grouping up and saying, "Yo, let's fight. Let's fight. I got my Lulu. I'm playing Kindred. Let's just fight." And they just win. And so, like, I mean, they didn't lose the fight, so it's like, yeah, you can say results based.
If I'm coaching Lulu Kindred, I'm telling you to go find 2v2 skirmishes. So
Yeah, but they're not
yeah,
playing that anymore, is the thing. They're
they almost won the game
Ryoma's
against FlyQuest with it. They should have.
Ryoma's playing more like self-serving champions now. And they're shifting up their approach in draft, it feels like, because a lot of the really broken mid laners are assassins now instead of enchanters.
He's
Like,
still playing a lot of
you can
marksman to get
still
priority for Kendi.
you can still play that, and you can still play enchanters, but you're gonna get eaten alive by Akali both ways.
Enchanters into Akali is really good. Like, Lulu into Akali is really, really, really good. And they're playing that. Yes. Yes, you win lane, you have polymorph, you get prio, and then you have wild growth to save teammates as the game goes on. It is a
don't know,
matchup that, like, I would consistently take. I know that Akali is really strong, but I firmly believe that Lulu Kindred and Akali is a good draft, and I would take that every time.
Lulu Kindred's pretty good. I was mostly thinking of Karma, but yeah,
It's
I
playable
see what
into
you're
Akali.
saying about Lulu.
Yeah, and
I think
on the
Akali's really broken,
Enchantresses,
but
he's 6-1 this season on
yeah,
Karma Lulu.
yeah.
And
I
they
think he's
play well
really
with
good
him.
at it. I think the team is very strong at it, but I think they're trying to implement other stuff like the marksman. I do still think that Ryoma's Lucian is very good. Like he in one of the games that we had this week, he was literally like one culling shot away from solo killing 2 people, and they would
Yeah,
have won the game
one was a good
if
flash
he
from
had gotten
takeover. It was very
yeah.
calculated.
Dude, can we talk about TSM now, or can we wait?
Sure. I think that 100 Thieves are just slumping, and I think that a big part of it's actually that Lee Sin was such a powerful pick for them, and it's just not
Right.
as good now.
Yeah.
And Tenacity is gonna find another champion that he can play and just dunk on. I think that one thing I've noticed about Tenacity,
Irelia. Guys, Irelia's
I mean,
really strong.
he already draws a lot of bans with that. I think one thing I've noticed
I
about
know.
Tenacity is
But they're
that
gonna blind Irelia after the change.
he's a really, really talented player. Um, I've noticed that it takes him a little bit longer to pick up champs, and or that his champ pool is a little bit smaller than the rest of the tops. Maybe that's on purpose, but
Right.
I mean, just why not you do the thing he did with Mundo and just first timed it on stage?
I think that's a meme. He did that with Lulu too. I do appreciate the memes. And I do actually appreciate the Mundo flexes. I think that will aid them moving forward because Mundo is a pick that's very meta at the moment.
Yeah.
Um,
It with Senna looks. I actually really loved that counter pick into Aphelios Thresh because Mundo is literally the only champion that isn't named Morgana that does not get insta killed by Gravitum once Aphelios gets it in
it's
lane,
good.
because you use your passive and you just walk away. It's actually
You just have a free
really
Malzahar
good.
kill.
I
What the
loved
heck?
that. I loved that adaptation.
It's a really good flex. I like that a lot. From
And they got
teams.
Volibear into the Renekton too. Very smart draft. Shout out
Dude,
to
that
Golden
Peter
Goose
Dunn
for that
tweet where it was like, why is it every time I do the Academy stream, Tenacity's solo killing Renekton as Volibear is so
Yeah.
fucking true.
It's very
He
funny.
just wins the matchup every time. I don't know why. Like,
It's
yeah.
so good.
I'm very high on Milan, but I have noticed that it takes them a little bit, like, the pool's either smaller or it takes them a little bit longer to pick up other champs. And
Right.
You
that will
know
get better
what?
over time.
Dude,
But
the
At
Tenacity
least-
Irelia is coming. You better fear it.
Hey, as soon as he had to drop the ego to Papa Smithy and got fed Orange McNuggets back in 2020, he's learned that he's gonna have to play a bunch of champions that he quote unquote thinks are dog.
okay. Yeah, somewhat. Which
There you go.
team do you want to talk about takeover next?
Yeah, I want to
Let's
talk about
talk about
Takeover
All
next.
right,
Okay, so
what up?
I gave the watered down version of this on the Academy broadcast, but I'm gonna say it like it is right now. Takeover just lost sort of job. Takeover needs to be in for the rest of the year, and
Mhm.
it's not even close at all. They're playing similar champions. They're doing similar things for the team, but Takeover just looks way better.
Mhm. He's better.
It's really crazy what he's able to
Takeover
do.
doesn't go down 100 CS to give
Yeah.
priority to other lanes.
And if he is down in CS, he's just going to kill you eventually anyway. If you are listening to this right now and you did not watch the end of the first game between TSM and 100, go back and watch it right the fuck now.
Yeah, it's
Because
pretty bad.
Takeover literally has the most genius flank I've ever seen. He's just waiting
That was a
in
really
like
fun point.
the random bush by the base gate on like red team. So he's like up here. So I'm trying to get it mirrored for everyone.
So imagine 100 Thieves is on red side, and this is the
Yeah.
red buff quadrant,
Yeah,
right?
he's
And
waiting
it's
in that
just
bush,
outside of the
and
gate.
they sweep for him. They sweep for him, but he dodges into like the other lip of it, and
It's
like
really
toward the
clever.
base gate, and he misses out on the sweeper. 100 starts the fight. They weren't taking tabs on him, and he gets a crazy flank, and he ends the game with it. It's so gross.
So
He's so clutch with his assassins. It's
I
really
think
really
the
good.
takeover over sword is I think takeover's better. I think it's a no brainer for me.
Yeah,
I think the more interesting discussion is how good are TSM Academy with takeover. Where do they fall with the academy
It,
teams?
I
Hyper
think they're
actually
top
can
four.
play the fucking game. Like
I think they're
Hyper
top
looks
four.
like a competent jungler when he has takeover in
Did you
because he.
see the Immortals series?
I'm saying that Hyper
Did I see the
looks
Immortals
like
series?
he is a competent jungler
Because
when he takes.
Hyper got fucking slammed by Andon
Yeah.
That,
in that
that doesn't
Okay.
series.
surprise me. No, that
That
doesn't
doesn't
surprise
surprise
me.
me
Okay,
actually.
Yeah.
I Hyper is new. I think that he's had some nice moments for being new.
Yeah, I think Hyper's good.
He is a weaker jungler that we have in Academy and has a lot to improve on. But I like the fact that TSM took someone that they can develop on a roster with
Yeah,
with Hanser and Cody-san. They have three pieces that are look like they have good moments and can develop. So props to
your
TSM for
son
that.
is so
Much
good
improved.
too. By the way,
Him and
your son
Cody-san
is
are a good
very
2v2.
good.
Yes. Props to TSM. Much
Mhm.
improved. I know that I love to rag on TSM. It's much improved. So props to them. They have
Yeah.
three pieces that they can develop and look good. So yes.
So, I say they're top four. My top four currently, include whatever FlyQuest is doing, 100, TSM, and Immortals. Now that Viper and Anda are back.
So no C9.
Oh,
No, I don't have C9
I
though.
would put C9 over TSM in a heartbeat.
I'm very high on TSM. I think this team is
Okay.
gonna be a really
so
big contender in the
yeah,
big proving grounds event.
I
I,
think that it's going to be really tough for teams to beat. Like what we saw last time was that even though TSM were a bad team last year in proving
Mhm.
grounds, really hard to beat Hanser and Cody-san
Yeah,
for these
I think it's
semi-pro
gonna be true
teams.
again.
And they are a better team this time, and it's
Yep.
really hard to beat Hanser and Cody-san still. So I agree with you on that. Yeah.
Mhm. They're gonna be
um
a really big contender. I just want to throw this out there. Academy is gonna fucking trounce Amateur at this proving grounds.
Yes.
I don't think it's going to be close this
Yes.
time.
We will talk about
I'm sorry,
semi-pro,
guys.
but no. Wildcard
It-
Red maybe,
It's
but
yeah. It's really the gap is quite large this
Wildcard
time.
Red looks like the only hope at the moment.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would say that the top five, maybe top six teams are all Academy.
I wouldn't say maybe. I'd say yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
Rafa,
if you throw in C9 and EG to my top four I already had, yeah, those are the top six teams
Rafa,
right
what do you
now.
have on the TSM? You were gonna say something.
yeah. So I wanted to clarify when I mean that Hyper looks like a competent jungler is because Hyper is one of the junglers where They only play well because their style requires your lanes to be winning. And I know it sounds like a super dumb statement. It's like, oh yeah, well of course if your lanes are winning, then you don't have to do anything as jungle. Well, it actually like you kind of have to. The thing you have to do as jungle is if your lanes are winning, you're either diving the lanes and further putting them behind, or you're invading the jungle and you're choking the enemy jungler out of resources and
Yeah.
preventing them from being able to actually go to lanes and salvage the doomed states that are currently in. And Hyper, there's many junglers that thrive on that, but there's also junglers who are not naturally that aggressive, and they prefer to just gank. They prefer to be junglers that like to play, quote unquote, play for the team. They play for vision. They play a more controlled play style. They play for objectives. Hyper does not play for objectives. He plays to fuck the other jungler over and rail them. That is just how it is. And that play
He's good at it.
style, he's good at it. That play style requires you to have winning lanes. One of them being mid lane because that is the center point of the map. And if your mid lane is
Okay.
giving up 100 CS to every other lane,
That's
you
fair.
can't do fucking shit.
That's
So
fair.
I'm not saying that Hyper is one of the best junglers in Academy. It's just, hey, when Takeover's in, Hyper actually looks like a good player. So
Yeah,
that
I
therefore
fully agree.
TSM as a team actually looks good.
I agree.
They're
So
much
Okay.
more complete with Takeover.
Okay.
And I think
yeah,
that
that's
I think that
a
he
good, that's a
really
good point.
sells the team.
All right. Which team do we want to talk about next, or anything that we want to bring up? Do we want to talk about C9? They lost to FlyQuest LCS, then they BDG pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
that's a good for them. We talked to Copy
right.
about that too. We were asking them, hey, what happened? And he's like, honestly, we just got trounced. We got beaten in like our entire topside map got overran and overwhelmed. They just played super proactively, and they did things that we just weren't expecting and are not used to. LCS teams, when they get a lead or they find leads, they just force leads in ways that we haven't really experienced. So me and Churn looked back over that VOD and we're like, Dan, like we got fucked here. And so they tried to mimic those same things against EG, which, props to them. If you're going to do that against any team, it's pretty hard to do it against someone like Contract's Jojapyun, because those two also want to play the map super aggressively and fast in the early game. So,
Yeah.
Good on
So
C9.
my take on C9 is actually very similar to what our take was on FlyQuest in spring, in that I think Cloud9 is the late game team right now. I think it's not in the same way as FlyQuest. It's not their macro being better, and it's not their like decision making around objectives being better. It is their like really clutch team fights. And I think that to get to those, you have to have a game state where they are not super far behind. If they're a little far behind, then I still think that they're going to be favored in their games, because that's what happened against EG. EG was very ahead. They took like the first 4 turrets on the map in both of their games, and they fought worse. Which is the first time that I've like really seen that happen from EG, where EG like was forced to just play the map. They didn't really go for a lot of fights early, and then later they didn't fight as well as Cloud9 did. And I credit actually a lot of that to Copy. Copy on Lee Sin was so fucking clutch. He was really rocking them on the scene on the EG series. Game 2 in particular, it looked really good, and everyone else on this team really fell in line. So I think C9, if they don't get railed early and they don't like have one of their lanes get crazy hard focused, like what we saw from the FlyQuest series, and they don't leave themselves vulnerable to that, then I think this is the sort of like inevitable win team that we have here. More so than someone like Team Liquid, more so than like what FlyQuest was. Well, different from what FlyQuest was last split, but that is my current C9 take.
I think that Copy's really struggled in this meta, and I'm happy that he had a good series.
I think his lane is not good.
Yeah, I'm happy that he had a good series, and
Yeah.
But I think he's really struggling in this meta.
Copy's lane is bad. I don't want to beat around the bush there. He is taking a lot of disadvantages. And he's putting himself in positions to get ganked, which is not true of most of the other mid laners. That was really exposed for FlyQuest. It was also exposed by EG, but it wasn't big enough to where they lost. But I think Copy is making up for it with his mechanics at the team fights later on. His Lee Sin was so good. And I
Fear
think
was also really good.
I think if he just plays more reserved in his lane, especially if he's playing a mobile champions like TF, then it's going to look a lot better for C9. Their early lane is not going to be as punishable, and it's gonna feel more like last split C9.
You want to talk about EG at all then while we're on this topic because we are pinning on the 2-0. EG had 1-3
Sure.
this week. They took a game off IMT.
Yeah, so C9 actually kind of crushed EG. Like I said before, they did not fight at all. And for Evil Geniuses, um like they still drafted to do that. They still wanted to get that off the ground. Like Contracts was still playing Nidalee, but they picked champions where it was harder to do so. They did not have crowd control in top or mid. So he tried to just gank bot lane over and over, which has not worked for this team in the past. And while they got all like the turrets and everything, they didn't find picks. And that's typically how EG swings momentum in their favor in games, because you can see it in the way that they play, that they're getting like the turrets on the map, they're doing the correct macro plays, but they don't feel like they're stronger because, in my opinion, that's one of the signs where they're not very good at visualizing the lead that they have unless they are actively killing people. I think from the outside looking in, that feels like is the main problem for EG, is that if they're not running people over, then they don't feel like they are able to fight. And even if they have a lead, they won't do it.
Game 2, they locked themselves into a timer of a
Yeah.
composition.
Well, they
And
usually do that though. They do that a lot, but they didn't like act on it. Is the thing. Like they still picked Nidalee. Like Contracts is very good at this champion.
Yeah, but
They didn't do it.
sometimes, like, I'm not disagreeing with you, but usually EG, like, they don't completely lock themselves into that hard of a timer. They sometimes have like a late game insurance policy. And to be fair, the first game they did something that was super aggressive. They had an Aphelios for late game for Team Luke.
Yeah.
Second game, I think they had Ziggs, which then again, it's technically a composition that you can stall out the game if things go sour early. But I am of the opinion, if you're picking Nidalee in this meta and you don't win the game or the map by 15 minutes, you are going to fucking lose.
Yeah.
And it sucks because
Is that Nidalee in any other meta?
In other metas, if you really want to break down how useful Nidalee was in other metas,
here we go.
Covey,
What did I
you go
ask
back
for?
to you go
Yes,
back to
indeed.
season 6. You could take Strength of Ages.
That's
You could take
5
Rod of
years
Ages.
ago.
And you asked for it, Cubby.
To
In any other meta, I'm
add-
like, okay, do you want to go back? I will fucking pull out.
Back when
the
Nidalee
history
was
of
super
Nidalee, man.
giga busted,
Okay.
was strongest
Yeah,
early
yeah.
and late
You
jungler.
could stun the camps with your
That's
trap.
true.
Yep.
That's true.
So and don't and that's not even the power of Bruiser Nidalee top with Trinity Force back in season
Okay.
4.
All right, moving on. Next
All right.
team.
Yeah.
Smacks, who do you
Well,
want to have
okay.
next?
To add one more thing to the EG thing, I think to further prove the point that I was saying before is the first game that they played on Wednesday, against who did they play? They played against Immortals, right? They got their shit rocked. JoJo was
They bounced
dying
back.
over and over and over and over again.
See, everything that you guys are saying about EG, I would just summarize the fact that it feels like JoJo Pion's just fucking limit testing. And honestly, it's
So
best of
this is what I'm
twos,
getting
and
at.
I really don't care. Like, I think that come playoff time, I have faith in that kid. And
This is
EG,
what I'm saying. If he is in the zone and he's feeling himself and he's feeling like he can go in, then he's gonna do it, and everyone else on the team is gonna do it. But he did not feel that way against Cloud9. He didn't. Contracts was not playing through him. He's playing through bot.
Yeah,
And
despite evil genius.
Mystique's was popping off in that game where they played through bot, the Nidalee down there on his Thresh. He looked really good. But JoJo wasn't doing things. So the team didn't do things. So I think they kind of just have to play with JoJo involved, or else they're not going to have the confidence to keep the game going. At least that's what it felt like in this week. Anyway, I have a lot of opinions on EG. They are my favorite team. EG
It's
Academy,
okay.
that is.
To
Anyway.
wrap up EG and move on to maybe one or two more teams here, Cubby.
We've got some good stories.
Yeah,
Yeah, we do.
We are currently still in the Jojopion to LCS waiting room for the next 179 days, 2 hours, 25 minutes, and 50 seconds, and counting.
All right. Team Liquid, they got 0-2'd by Golden Guardians, in which they murdered both early games, and Golden Guardians came back. And then 2-0 Dig in rather convincing fashion. Shoutouts to Armeo.
Yes.
Also did double duty this week. Did not go 7-0, but playing well, I will say, on both stages. Thoughts on Team Liquid? The first place Academy team that we had, and the winners of Northern Arena, that bottom forward proving grounds last year.
So the caveat again is that Jenkins is not here. It is Dokla. Dokla's good, but
I don't think Jenkins is going to be here again. I think it's Dokla for the rest of the year, and Jenkins is going to split time.
Yes,
so
that is what they said in the press conference.
Yeah, it's not even worth bringing up now. Jenkins has moved on.
Well, you brought up last split, so that's why I.
That's true. Okay, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So if they get a new jungler, which they might, I don't really know, then we'll have this conversation again. But I still think that this team is very solid. I'm still very high on Harry in particular.
Really?
I think Harry. Yeah, I think Harry's good.
Oh, I think the opposite.
Okay.
No.
Well. Okay.
I think Harry's the reason that they bottom forward proving grounds, and his champion pool has been limiting the team this split.
Okay. I know that you think he's the reason.
You and Spawn should have this conversation.
I know that you think that he's the reason why they lost in spring. I know that you think that.
Mr. Jake Tiberi,
if you watch those games, it's hard to think otherwise.
I know. He makes one bad play, and then everyone on his team dives in like lemmings.
Personally, let you know where Cubby lives, Spawn, so you can go and have a sit down with him, have a chat, maybe drink some beers, and then respectfully do a shoey.
But no, I mean, I'm not saying that I think he's fine, but if Team Liquid wants to be a top of the table Academy team, then I don't think he's the top of the table Academy mid. That's where I'm going. And I have him as a top 5 mid laner in Academy, and I think that he somewhat limits the team.
You don't have top 5?
No.
That's crazy.
I think he's bottom 3.
Okay, who's your top 5 in Academy mids?
Well, people would crucify me if I said JoJo on this split, but usually with JoJo. But one would be Ryoma, hands down. JoJo Pion.
Sure.
My bottom 3, Saligo is in, so Saligo has to be up there now, right?
Yeah.
Triple. Or Palafox.
Okay, yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Sure.
Takeover.
Takeover is really good.
It's 5. Also,
Palafox and Saligo are fucking cheating,
Pretty wasn't even mentioned, and Pretty is way higher up on my list than Pretty is top 3 for me. So that's 6.
Ooh.
Like I said, I have him bottom 3. Like, I think that RJS.
Was your bottom 3 then Harry?
RJS, him, Yunbi.
Oh, okay. RJS and Yunbi. Okay.
RJS, Yunbi, Harry are my bottom 3. Yeah.
Does Sword count?
No. I mean, if he plays, yeah, but no.
He's played half their games.
So yeah, well, I mean, like I really don't think that like Harry's top tier Academy mid. I mean, if he wants to prove me wrong, then that's great. But if like I think that he's been limiting the team this year just because like he hasn't picked up. Like they're still playing a lot of Twisted Fate. I can say the same thing about Yunbi. That's why I think like not as highly of him. But They're playing a lot of like picks around his comfort, and I haven't seen him have games like the ones that he had versus Dig, where he played very well, and that was good to see against a good mid laner in Saligo. So that's my cherry on top. But I think that if he steps up, things can get stronger for Team Liquid, and I think that Team Liquid are a middle of the pack academy team. A lot of that is because of what's going on with their LCS squad, and I want to see them at full strength, see what they do in academy. Now we can get on. We have a couple other notes to hit. COG went 2-2 this week, and Golden Guardians went 3-1. I think that's very much worth hitting on.
Huge.
I think that COG also, unironically, actually looked better than Golden Guardians, even though their record's worse.
Feels good, man.
Because the Team Liquid series against Golden Guardians, I never want to watch that shit again. It was... Oh my god, that was those 2 games happened. Just really sums up NA. And props to Golden Guardians for coming back, but Jesus Christ, like...
All right, Cubby.
I remember
Jesus.
at the end of game 1 of Team Liquid Golden Guardians, I told Smacks, "Welcome to Academy, boy. I hope you enjoy your stay." God damn.
Jesus, I mean, those games happened. Congrats, Golden Guardians, on the 2-0. But yeah,
Dude,
the Golden Guardians still have to work. Both GG and COG have to work on some early game stuff. And
I will say huge props to Niles for having like game-winning flanks in both of them. He actually fucking destroyed Team Liquid.
I mean, Golden Guardians, like, they won the game, right? But feels like Team Liquid lost more to me. But
I think that Rosethorn performed like
Niles looked extremely good this series.
I think apart from literally Jose Dioto, I think Rosethorn performed the best of the junglers in Academy this week. I think he was very, very good in that Team Liquid series.
And
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, okay. He can be third. He can be third.
also,
man.
Max,
okay. Hang on.
We haven't talked about them yet.
I
Competition in LA is getting better.
I can't give Rosethorn like that much credit when they're playing Volibear Karma, and I see multiple games where Xin Zhao's like, yes, I'm going in on that level 3 and 4. Like the levels where Volibear Karma just slam. Like the point in the game where it's like, if you
was a
find
forehead
Volibear,
counter pick, Cubby.
I'm not saying his Volibear's bad. Like, he plays it well, but like he's just like literally like Christmas came early for him. Where it's Xin Zhao like jumps in and he's like, I'm a fucking double buff level 3, level 4 Volibear. I win. I have Karma in my back pocket. That's like the one timer.
You also can't take away that you also can't take away that Honore just had a really bad series. That was a very bad
and that's also like he's stepping in, right? And that's why I think TL is kind of interesting. I know I credited Armeo for double duty. That was for the rest of the split I made in there.
Right.
Honore's I know that he's been with Team Liquid here and there when Armeo's stepping in for like the entire split.
Yeah. I actually forgot about that until just now.
And I think that we'll see how they look with Dokla as like things move on, but man, I think Golden Guardians still like they went 3-1. I think that Niles is playing better. I think that Prismal is getting his confidence back as he's flashing in more. Not always at the right time, but he's doing
lot more. He did it a lot of times.
The teleport to ulti, and then he just went in. Oh my god!
But it's good signs.
Some fun games.
I know the CLG went 2-2. I actually think that CLG's 2-2 is really good.
Okay,
their 2 wins are super clean.
All right,
by the way,
Cubby, tell me that I told you. Tell me that I told you so, and that Keela's good right now. Tell me.
No, I'm not in. I'm not on the train.
Why not?
Well, Will straight up out jungled him in Dignitas's win, and then also in the Golden Guardians win, he entered the game. He died twice on Xin Zhao, where once again he's fighting Volibear level 3 through 5. When Volibear has Karma in their back pocket.
You're highlighting the bad things. What about their wins? Gubby?
Well,
What
their
about
wins was an
wins?
RJS hard carry and a super duper outdraft. And then the other win, he played well around a TN Nocturne, which was the cleanest game played in the Academy this week. They had a
Yes. Hear
24
that?
24 and a
Keel
half
is the
20
cleanest.
No. He had a 24 and a half 25-minute win. Though, in COG's second game against Golden Guardians, where they played Nocturne to perfection. It was a clinic in how to play Nocturne. And they waited a really long time to use the Paranoia TP combo, but when they did, they wiped the fight, they took Baron, they won off the first Baron, game was over. It was really good from COG. So, they still need to fix some of their early games, and a lot of that is around Keel, but it's getting better. And why do you have a smile on your face? All right, Smax is all on the Keel.
Keel good. That is all.
Okay.
Did you guys interview Hooks twice, by the way?
Yeah, it's pretty lit. They just put him on twice.
I thought I saw that, and I was like, that is very interesting. I wonder why that is.
All right, last team that we have to hit on is Immortals. They 3-1'd, and Anda and Viper are here, and holy shit, is Viper clean. Oh my god, his Akali's so good.
Dude.
Oh my god,
I keep forgetting.
They just
I keep forgetting about them.
Please,
because it's
please,
just over for everyone else.
They just fucking ran everyone.
It's over.
Dude, the fucking read that he had on the Akali in that 1v1 made me nut, dude.
I mean, it was a 50-50, but it was so sick. The thing that was more impressive.
I don't care if it's a 50-50 or not. Like, he could have, like, either way, you just fucking take that shit like a boss. That's when you're in the fucking enemy's head and you have occupied mental, like, rent-free, baby.
The thing that was more impressive was that Hyper missed an E, which on Voldebear, which was egregious on like a dive, like going into a call. It was really bad. It was really bad. Like, and because of that, Viper picks up a kill, and he's going up against takeovers the Blanc in a long lane, which is counters Akali. Gets dove, trades, and then just proceeds to fucking wreck takeover in a long lane where he is countered for the rest of the game.
Dude, it's so over.
And dude,
it's actually so over for all the other top jungles.
I want to see Immortals 100 Thieves. That is like, I know that FlyQuest with Philip, and I don't know like what they're gonna do with their team, so things are gonna get funky. And I think that we're in agreement that Dreams and Johnson should be playing in Academy for now. Yeah. And if that's the case, I want Immortals 100 Thieves. That's the only game I want to see. I want to see those guys play as much as possible. I think those
playing
teams
CLG,
are so good.
TL. Those are
the
games next week.
I know I said that the top 2 teams in Academy are better than the other 3 LCS teams. If FlyQuest Academy like change up their roster or whatever, like with their LCS teams, I would like to maintain my statement, say that there are 2 teams in Academy that are better than the bottom 2 teams or 3 teams in LCS, and replace Dig with FlyQuest on that list, and then have Immortals replace FlyQuest on the Academy list. Because Immortals Academy, 100 Thieves Academy are fucking good teams, and you need to watch these guys play. Viper, Anda, Pretty are just running the map against people, and Keith and Joey are doing their job. So it's no org V2, literally.
So bad news. They've already played 100 twice.
Yeah, I know.
So that won't happen for the rest
playoffs,
of
baby. That's the true
playoffs. That's right.
But yeah, also, Immortals top jungle is just they're just too good. It's like I said at the beginning when we did our power ranking. Like I had my presentation, I had Immortals first. This is why they're just too good.
I don't know if they're gonna be first, but they could be. And them versus 100 Thieves, I want to see it. I want to see it so bad. Like
so. To remind viewers at home, like you, yes, you, and you're beautiful. That was really cheesy. I'm sorry.
Love it.
The how playoffs and Academy is working is that the top 6 teams will have a playoffs bracket for Academy, and at the same time, the bottom 4 Academy teams are going to the Tier 1 tournament for the Unified Grand Prix. So that is, and they are occurring literally at the same time. So that is why they can concurrently run or simultaneously run in August, because those 4 teams are trying to make it alongside whatever Proving Grounds teams get out. Top 10 top 10 teams that qualify will go in to the Proving Grounds event in September, and then the 6 teams, no matter what they do in playoffs, will go play Proving Grounds, but then it'll determine their seeding into the final tournament. So there is a world where those 4 academy teams, if they get knocked out, if they don't make it to the top 10 in that Proving Grounds 16 elimination tournament, then those 4 academy teams just don't go to Proving Grounds at all.
Just like last split. But the odds of that happening this split, from what we've seen so far, I'm going to say like 2% that one of the 4 teams doesn't make it. I mean, it's a big chasm.
It's not likely.
It's a chasm. Yeah.
Like, even the bottom teams have like really good pieces. Like, do we really think that Soligo is not going to make it to Proving Grounds? I don't think so. I think Keel's really good, so I think CLG's got it in the bag. And yeah, I mean, like, the 4 teams, if they were to cut it off right now, one of them is literally TSM. So I don't know who's gonna be take over TSM.
Well, also, like, Immortals just got
amateur
to full strength. I know, like, talking with Viper before their game started the first day, he's like, our season starts now. And honestly, going from 80 ping to 10 ping, I can't blame him. Especially with the style that he likes to play. And honestly, what do we see? 3 games of Kali and 1 game of Vayne, and he just murders every single game. Like, it's crazy. That's
honestly, whoever the 7 and 8 seed teams are going to be from Academy, so like the top 2 seeds into UGP, they're just going to be untouchable, I think. Like, I don't know who
I mean,
even
it's going to be the 4. It's 4 teams max.
Yeah, I know. But like, with how good Academy is, like, the bottom 2 teams, I think that Dig and CLG could have interesting series, but whoever 7 and 8 are in Academy regular season are just going to rampage everyone.
I thought you were just kind of autopiloting and saying, well, we're going to see 7-8 play UGP and then 9-10 play Wisdom.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
My mistake.
All right.
Anyway.
Semi-pro time?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. This is a good segue to talk about semi-pro.
Do we want to start with the list, or do we want to start with Risen?
We should start with Risen, because it's already happened and we haven't talked about it pretty much at all. But Risen is all over. Wildcard won it again, and Cloud9 Amateur with Rimbany. Cloud9 Amateur are the ones who qualified. They got second place, which is pretty unexpected, I would say, especially if you were to ask everyone at the start of the split.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, really huge moves for Cloud9 Amateur. It was a really tough playoffs for them, but they qualified.
They beat Resolve, Maryville, who took 3rd and looked to be in much better form.
Yep.
In very good form, I must add.
Yeah, they reverse swept Zoos, by the way. Maryville did.
Yes. And Wildcard, which is pretty... They lost Wildcard, but that's not an easy bracket. I think Resolve's a tougher draw, and they blanked them. Resolve had a bad day, and
I would
C9 blanked them.
I would like to make the claim that Maryville, after playing a whole weekend tournament on land ping versus actual ping,
I was going to make that point.
I think kind of fucked them.
Perhaps.
Okay, we'll talk about this more when we talk about C9. You guys are very high on C9.
Yeah.
I am cautiously optimistic.
Spoilers for the list later. I have Wixie as my top prospect.
Yeah.
I bumped him up all the way to 1. I think Wixie is so good. He is smurfing on he's smurfing on lane picks like Draven and Caitlyn, and they're winning games on these.
One trick. He's
I know,
known
but he's
for his Draven.
I understand this, but he's also winning on things like Ezreal and like Kaisa.
His Ezreal's very good.
Yeah. So he's not a one trick then. Fuck you.
But he's no. In solo queue, he was known for his Draven one trick. All right, and I know that like he's proven like he's like good at other things, right? But He is my number 1 AD on my prospect list. No, I think so. The reason that I'm cautiously optimistic about C9 is that Maryville and Wildcard both had individuals coming out of the LAN, where Maryville, they were playing as a team, but that LAN schedule is aggressive
Right.
and they dropped a 5-game series to C9 on that day, where I think that I can make the claim if they aren't coming off of that LAN weekend, they're probably in slightly better form, where they didn't drop a single game with the top 4 teams at Collegiate there too. Then they go up against Wildcard Red, who have not been scrimming with Bradley, because guess what? Bradley was kicking my team's ass at the LAN too.
He was kicking everyone's team.
And they managed to push it to 5 because they say, fuck it, we're going to play pocket picks. Which, once again, this is a game of League where that works. I think that the reason that C9 are having some success is from their bot lane. I think that you guys credit Wixie a lot for that, which I agree. He's very good. But
Wixie
I
and
give Breezy a lot of credit too. And I think that you guys are very much overlooking that. And
I'm not overlooking Breezy. I think Breezy's quite good too. But I just am.
And Wixie
I'm very impressed by Wixie.
Is a good player, but there is no fucking way that you can put him over Bradley for me. And Bradley is this guy is what he's done in amateur this split, coming off of it, taking a split off where he can get his elo up to be on a good amateur team because he believed in himself. And the early improvement that I've seen out of Bradley, this guy is proving he can play Cinder and Orianna away from instantaneously needing an academy spot. And that is how good this player is. And I said the same thing about Dark Wings, who also should be in academy. And we will see. He got bumped down. I think AoE had a tough tournament, but we got more on them too. I think that one of the other things that I find interesting about this split of amateur is that last split, the best team, hands down, after the second tournament was Noorg. And the thing that made Noorg great was that their top side was just slamming anyone and everyone.
Yeah.
And in order to compete in Proving Grounds last year, you needed to have a good top side that could try and survive that. That's one of the reasons that the 2 teams that gave them the best run for their money were Zeus, who had a Lorem, and RBM. Resolve, who had PCL and Fnatic, and then also
Arshawn Schernfire.
Solafide, who had I'm talking about like the amateur split, right?
Gotcha.
Solafide, who had Doklo Winston. Wildcard Red have the best the best player in Arrow in the entire tournament. And one of the reasons that I'm not as high on Wixie is that they still dropped the series, and he still kind of got pushed around by Arrow pretty good. Which, to be fair, Arrow's been nutting on everyone. Like,
if we were allowed to put Arrow on the list, he would be number 1.
Yeah, we have limitations to the list. Arrow's the best player. It's not close.
Yes.
I think the reason that C9 are having success is that their bot lane is good, and one of the few bot lanes that can hold a candle to that bot lane. And I think that's one of the reasons that they look a lot better than where I'd personally put them.
That's interesting. I also think it's an XU meta.
Yes.
For what it's worth.
Yes. And the fact that ganking junglers are better definitely fits XU, who, guys, Lee Sin is nuts, and has definitely gotten a lot stronger in his play. And props to Tails JJ and that team. They're getting better. But I don't see this team having as much success at in Proving Grounds as a lot of the other teams that are going to qualify.
Yeah. Well, we already established that Academy is going to trounce everyone, and I think that's going to be true.
This is true. But
we'll see.
Yeah.
Mark has been rubbing his hands for a disturbingly long amount of time, so let's let him talk.
It's because you talked about my boy Lawrence in the jungle.
XU's playing very well.
Yeah, you are very, very correct. Spring meta, fucking gatekeeping him on Udyr and Hecarim, where anyone can look good on those piss random champions rushing Uber Chem Tank. God damn it, man. Any jungler could have looked good. The only reason...
I mean, to be fair, Anda and Fnatic were still gapping everyone in that meta.
And contracts.
Anda wasn't even playing Hecarim.
They were doing things outside of the champion skill expression, which is something that, Lawrence has had to work on. When it comes to pure champion skill expression, Lawrence is mechanically insane. It's just that in a meta where mechanics don't win you games, and it's actually about map control, that is something that he has had to build and develop over time. But as I said in the blurb about Lawrence, this summer split, and after, during the off season with C9 Amateur, he worked a lot with Breezy, who had time in the Academy season, 400 Thieves before Poom got upgraded, which is why, even though I'm there with you. The spring split, the reason why Cloud9 looked competitive with some teams is because of Wixie Breezy. Those two, as a bot lane duo, were actually gapping some other lanes that where the rest of the map was falling apart. And because that's a winning lane that EXU can actually play off of, then Lawrence can kind of expedite a little of his advantages there. Now, we're in a meta where Lee Sin is around, Xin Zhao's around.
Speedo is very good at Lee Sin too. I think that's important.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you guys knew Collegiate League of Legends back in 2019, where he was playing for UCal, and I had an interview with this kid, one of my very first interviews in League of Legends at all, I asked him after he got a pentakill on Lee Sin in the jungle, I think it was against UCLA, and this kid, I'm just asking, dude, he was very bold back then, but it was, it wasn't even the best collegiate teams. It was all Western collegiate teams. I think the only other good team in that tournament was Arizona State University, which they went to finals against, and they actually lost. It was a 3-1 in ASU's favor. But Lawrence has come a long time and developed since then. So
he's looking really good now.
Yeah. I still think Cloud9 Amateur, while they're super exciting to watch and, they did well in Risen, I still think that team is really just those three. Captain Shrimps has improved his play a lot, and there's some mid niche picks that he brings out.
I think Speedo and Shrimps are, yes, they're role players, but they've gotten a lot better as role players, and that's one of the reasons they're having a lot of success.
I don't want to undersell them either.
Yeah.
I think
I still think Speedo could be replaced and is serviceable.
Speedo was noticeably the weakest link last split, and is still the weakest link, but not nearly as noticeable. It's not a problem.
He definitely lost them the final game of Risen. But I do think he has won them some games, which has not been true in the past. Good. Yeah, exactly. So I'm a lot higher on Speedo than I was in the spring. I'm still not high on him, really, but I do not think that he is that bad. So that's that.
Yeah.
Other things that happened in Risen, Maryville really surged. This is the kind of Maryville performance that I was expecting starting in big last split.
You mean League?
When you said that Maryville wouldn't drop a single game?
I did say that. And I stand by that. And it's because of games like we've seen in Risen. And also at the Collegiate LAN.
You know why,
Seems looking pretty good.
I'll tell you
why.
I'll tell you the fucking secret sauce.
I would love to
not
know
only,
secret sauce.
Spearex is in this roster and he's playing like a fucking monster. But
Absolutely.
the other thing is that Julian, as a coach, is doing them tremendous favors. And this team looks far more comfortable. And it goes to show, even all the way at the beginning of our show, talking about LCS and Academy, how the management and the coaching staff and the facilitation of these players is just as important as the players playing on stage. I think a beautiful story, and I consider this semi-pro because it was collegiate. This past weekend, we had a coach by the name of Matthew Samuelson who got down on one knee and looked at his players in eye level and told them, all right, guys, what do you guys want to play? What do you think is comfortable here? And being able to open up his players, a lot of them who were very shy and reserved, and got them to pull out crazy things to beat a top 4 C-Lol team.
We do practice Seraphine bot quite a bit. Or, well, we used to, and then we won every game, so we stopped. But, yeah.
This is the power of having a quote-unquote figure in authority over you actually meet you at your level and give you the respect that you deserve as players.
Yeah, I mean, I try to do that as a coach, and I appreciate that. I have trouble talking about the impact that coaches have on teams, and I talked with both Julian and Sue, who's taking a break quite a bit, like at the LAN. I think the furthest I'll go to say is that I think that Maryville are playing really good league. I really like their draft. And if there is a single player that I am telling people to go watch VODs of right now, he's not the best mid-laner on my list, but the one that I'm telling them to go check out is SpearX. Because, holy shit, that guy's a freak. And he's playing really well right now. And I think is a big difference maker for their team at the moment. And SpearX went from not being on my list at all to being in the top 10. And I think that if there is any semi-pro player to watch that you have probably not checked out, because I assume most of you have seen Bradley and Wixie and Tomio and Fnatic and a lot of the other highlights we have, go watch SpearX. His Akali is nasty, and he can play Lucian well. He's really good. So
his
yeah.
assassin gameplay overall.
Go watch SpearX. He's really good.
Also, his Rise saved two games from Maryville.
If we're going to talk about his rise at the LAN, Winthrop ran at that play. We were all watching that, and I was like, does Rise have this? With my team, and it's like, yes, he does. And which once again, props to him. He pulled off. He saw the play. He pulled it off. I really value vision and seeing plays like that at this level of play. But you don't stack up against Rise, and you don't blow cooldowns, not fully chain CC Rise, or else that happens. So.
Yeah.
That was sad for Winthrop, but still.
Him and Nate.
SpearX good.
Or him and Odd Orange. Rise Lee Sin. You can do that. Mid Jungle Kingdom. It works. And I think this meta is better for Odd Orange. His Rumble was not the strongest. I know he's still playing it a little bit, but Gragas Lee Sin. Yeah.
All right. Well, that only leaves one more top 4 team from Risen. Or no.
Zeus.
Yeah, that is Zeus, but I fucked up the transition because what I actually wanted to talk about was this.
Oh, it came in. All right.
A jersey that I got from Resolve. It's so cool. So first of all, I love the colors of this
jersey.
But second of all,
we got here.
It's got Resolve on the side here, and I really like that.
Name on the back?
Yeah, and I do have my name.
There we go. Show it off. Attaboy, Smacks. All right.
There it is.
So what you're saying is that you are actually biased, and in order to be unbiased, we need merch from every other team, so we can all be on an even level playing field. So yeah.
Hey, that's why I, apart from of course Matty Moo, that was the big reason why I started supporting Supernova more. They sent me a jersey, and I was like, all right, what? I got it. But I still am a big fan of Matty, and I always will be. And I'm hoping the best for him in showing what he can do. And, maybe they find a better team in the future. Anyway, Resolve.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about Resolve.
Resolve had a tough series against C9. They got 0-3'd, and I still think they were good. I think they're going to bounce back, but I just wanted to show off the jersey.
I would grab mine, but I got the dark one, and I've already worn it a lot, so it's in the wash. Yeah.
I believe though, unless we do want to talk about Zeus a little bit, we can move over to EGL and get into one announcement that we have.
Yeah. Do we want to go over the player list at all that we have? It's not updated on Mobalytics yet, but we did update that with Tim. Do we want to go over the results of that?
Yeah. Let's do that. Let's do
All
that.
right.
So, are you going to put it on the screen at all?
No, but I can read off who we have as our top
Our
prospects.
conglomerate.
Here,
Our
is
conglomerate.
this going to work? Can somebody click that link and tell me if that works?
It does. You can click that link in the chat right now, and I will read off what we have. Number 1 is Bradley. Personally, he was my number 1, even though Wixie was the number 1 for Rafa and Smacks. Thank God, brother Tim saved me on that one.
Hey, you're slandering me. You're slandering me. I put Bradley as my number 1.
All right, thank you. That was the right call, Rafa. No disrespect, obviously.
I
to
had
Wixie,
Bradley at 2, okay?
Yeah, but
Also,
anything but
I'm
one's
gonna take
wrong.
I'm gonna take this time to say that I fucking told you guys that Bradley was sick. I had him previously at number 2, and you guys flamed the shit out of me for that.
I didn't flame the shit out of you. All right.
And now
that was 4 weeks ago.
Now you're flaming me for having
4 weeks ago.
Here. A lot of these arguments are actually just between Smacks and Covey, and I'm the mediator in the middle. I'm getting thrown under the bus in either polar end. And I'm like, no, I'm like right here. I'm the safe zone.
That was 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I was right then. I'm right now. Okay.
No, he got way better in the 4 weeks. He's not fucking up Wayne States anymore.
Cubby, what I'm hearing from you is that no matter what I do, unless it is exactly your opinion, I'm gonna be wrong because now Bradley's too low. Before he was too high.
Dude,
there's no winning.
That relationship sounds like APN Fnatic on Resolve too.
Correct.
Oh God.
No.
Anyway,
Smacks had the foresight on that one. Congrats. He definitely hits very high highs. The one thing I wanted to see from Bradley growing was consistency. And as I said, he's a Syndra or an Orianna away, proving that on the stage from just being the instant Academy pickup, up there with Fire, right? Who, of course, isn't competing the split, but we see as like, why aren't you playing at that level, right? Because we think they deserve to play at that level. Anyway, next would be Wixie, who jumped up 6 spots. Definitely proved himself and had a humongous tournament.
Yes, Wixie's so good.
Fnatic at 3rd. Tomio at 4th. Tuesday at 5th. Darkwings at 6th.
Wait,
Winston,
how did Tomio go up 2 spots and EGP didn't even make it into...
I put Tomio a lot higher on my list.
Tomio has been playing good the entire split.
Yeah.
Tomio's been playing very well this split, and I give him a lot of credit still for last split. That's him and Fnatic, for me, are somewhat grandfathered in. I think that they're really strong prospects.
Tomio's Risen tournament actually wasn't even bad, by the way. His group stage was... I actually think he might have been the best player in the whole group stage.
Tomio's playing very good right now. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, then I have to go back, because I only saw the semis and finals for Risen. I did not see group stage games, which is on me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. I definitely missed some games that were off stream. So, yeah.
Anyway,
Tuesdays
Winston's
at 5.
on the list now, which is sweet.
Yes. Tuesdays at 5, Darkwings at 6, Winston at 7. Winston was someone that for me was like 11 through 15 because we gave 5 extras. Yeah. And then Rhino at 8.
He wasn't even on the list for me at the beginning, but now he is jumped up to my top 5. So he is, for him to come out this summer. I just want to say something about Winston. I stand by that in spring he was the weakest member on Solo Fide, and so for him to have this arc of saying, like, fuck all the people that said that I was trash and like didn't belong on the Solo Fide roster, because that fired him up, and he is playing unreal this summer.
Yeah.
So
he has earned those victories a lot. He's not just
I love the post game interviews, because you can tell that this shit has been on his mind since Solo Fide got boomed.
He's a good interview. I like talking with Winston.
So I'm happy for him to be able to have this turnaround.
Yeah, so I mean, he's playing well, right, with the team.
Yeah.
They're winning. It's good. And then Rhino at 8, Daption at 9, and XU sneaking in at 10.
Yep.
So we have 4 junglers in the top 10.
Oh yeah, we do.
Interesting.
We also have 2 supports, and we have shortened the list of bot laners down to just 1. It is only
And there are
Wixie.
still no top laners.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
couple honorable mentions for me that are on my list would be 1, Quacker. He wasn't in my top 10, but he's on the 11 through 15. And then Spearaxe APA. And Gorica. I had
Gorica and Doxa I still have on my list.
Gora, Spearaxe, APA for me were 7, 8, 9 on mine, and they aren't on the top 10. I think very highly of them. I think that TSM is... They have some issues, but the issues are not Gorica, Doxa.
Yeah, I would not be surprised, and I don't think people should be surprised if TSM Amateur make it into Proving Grounds. I think that
I
they
would be
are...
surprised at this point.
Did you see the group they're in, though, Smacks?
Yeah,
that
I
is
did.
that is one of the groups that I was not happy about the placing with, because I would have advocated that TSM Amateur, if they were in any other group, they could have actually made it to the playoffs version of EGL and then maybe pushed to UGP to get to Proving Grounds. But with that group, they are probably not getting out, because I don't see TSM Amateur beating Cloud9 Amateur. I don't see TSM Amateur beating Resolve. If they do, it is a massive like switch that they have to flip immediately and get ready on pace for, because I mean, in this meta, Cloud9 Amateur is in peak form, and as much as I love Chan and I want him to do well, I don't know how he beats Fnatic.
He's actually improved a lot. The issue is that Eclipse and Donbray are not going to keep up, and that's
I think Eclipse is going to have a good 11.14.
I think
what makes you say that?
Irelia is really fucking OP, Cubby. Get ready for Irelia. Everybody's going to play that champion.
Yeah. Okay. Donbray is the big question mark for this roster.
It just makes me more excited for Bradley.
Actually,
Bradley's really fucking.
The TSM Amateur roster is actually so close to actually being really good and really competitive. But obviously, even if you put a better support in that roster, then I don't know who the fuck Donbray is. Then sorry if I'm offending. I don't know what their competitive history is, and clearly that him and Gorka as a bottom lane are not that strong as a duo, right? So
interesting enough, my support rankings that I have on my sheet actually go Breezy, Rhino, Daption, and Breezy is not on either of your guys' lists, but Wixie is at 2.
So the reason why I don't put Breezy on there is because I consider him not
Breezy
necessarily
off my
a
list?
prospect.
He qualifies. Fnatic has Academy experience too, and I think that you guys are really forgetting about how good Breezy is, and I have him as the best
Breezy on my list.
I'm not forgetting how Breezy. I literally, legitimately just believe that. Oh well, he was on 100 Academy. He would have stayed on 100 Academy had Poom not upgraded from X and forced him off. I think Breezy. People know that Breezy is good, so that's why I didn't do that.
I agree with that compared to Daption Rhino, but I think that he's best support actually at the moment. And,
sure. And
I think Rhino's still the
reason
best,
why
actually.
I did it for Fnatic is
Best
because
upside.
I think Fnatic got griefed by an abysmal split in Academy in FlyQuest. And I know sources, because there are commentators that we know that thought that Fnatic was the worst jungler in Summer Academy in that split. So being able to give advocacy for Gabe, I think, is good, because he is a good jungler, but he needs the extra push so that people don't remember FlyQuest 2020 of Academy.
Right.
Okay.
Whereas I think Breezy performed phenomenally, so he should be getting Academy.
I genuinely just do think that Rhino is the best support. So that's my thought.
He has the best moments, but he has some games where I'm kind of scratching my head. And it's gotten to the point where he's not green for me anymore.
I suppose. I like the big moments. I think if you're not getting the big moments on support, then you are just not doing anything really.
I'm
Like
still
you might
waiting
as well
for
just play Enchanter
Busio to
stuff all
give
the
me a
time.
reason to put him on this list because Busio's nuts.
But yeah, I think that about wraps up the list conversation.
On the EGL.
Well,
Breaking news.
yeah. So let's move on to EGL and let's have the announcement that we have.
All right,
Cubby.
breaking news. I got permission to say this from AOE. And this is going to come. If you're in the EGL chat, you probably already know this because it's been a while now. But AOE main is actually switching up their roster. I have gotten word from their manager that Fizzy has decided to step down. Will not be the support, and Fizzy is getting replaced by a player that goes by Zyko. Zyko most notably was coached 5-ish years ago by Lucian, the coach of Resolve, and played with an AD at the time that went by the IGN Tactical with Supernova. And Zyko is making a return. Currently, that account is sitting at Challenger 900 LP, playing support, mostly Thresh Theona and some Nautilus. So that is Zyko. And Zyko will be stepping in for Fizzy on that roster.
That's interesting. So initial reaction is interesting for me because I apologize to AoE, but this kind of makes me think like, ooh, maybe Fizzy can go to TSM Amateur. Because he already has a relationship with TSM.
Oh, there was a
Please,
tweet made 3
get
hours
Dombre
ago.
out.
It was a
What?
leak at the time. All right.
Please, like get Dombre out, man. Like
Damn, Roth is being mean.
That is
you know
kind
what?
of toxic.
People are messaging me to stop being so civil, so I'm just gonna put my life out there.
I
If
respect the
Dombre,
opinion.
wants to flame me, he can. Like I don't know who he is, and I look at their games, and it's like, yeah, there's a reason why no one knows who he is. So this Fizzy.
There it is.
Fizzy's already
Fizzy.
had a relationship with TSM, and it feels like they probably left on good terms because Fizzy was doing well for them. I mean, I don't
Fizzy
really
in there,
know.
man. You have to remember that Fizzy was the fucking sub for TSM Academy, and he was one of the best players that looked good during that spring while they were waiting for Yurson.
Yeah.
And then Yurson came in. Are you really telling me like you had Sword on there? You had Babip on there. To the credit, Babip was griefed because he was on a team where everyone else was not speaking the same language
He's
as him in
jungling.
comms. So like,
Oh god, let's not go back to this,
like-
please.
yeah.
Oh no.
So like,
Oh,
This
God.
conversation is just like big league.
Monster is like dying in side lanes. He's getting solo killed, and he's supposed to be one of the veterans for this team. And so, because you don't have a reliable damage primary carry, Cody's son has to step up and be the primary carry. And Cody's son is good, but anytime that he is forced to be the person, like for some reason TSM just didn't want to play around him. So Cody's son has to do shit and put himself in situations to 1v9, and they can't always do it. So Fizzy was by far one of the better players for that spring because it facilitated Cody's son to get to that point. Because Babip couldn't play it around anywhere else.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, that's my reaction initially. I
Put
don't
Fizzy
know.
on TSM Amateur. God damn.
I don't know how much this helps AoE main. I still think this team is looking in dire straits.
I think they have some nice pieces. They're just not coming together as a team yet.
Yeah. That second part is a really big deal because we're coming down to the wire.
It's true.
They're going to play in UGP. That is pretty much a guarantee. So many amateur teams are playing in that tournament, actually. It's pretty nuts. Like,
It's going to be a big tournament.
It's a miracle if you don't make it into that tournament. Unless you're Wildcard Black and you got fucked over by the system. And I feel bad about that still.
So, real quick, I will share the public external document that EGL has in case anyone in the chat wants to look at it. This is the schedule. And we have groups as well. What do we think about the groups? One group would be Wildcard Red, EGP, AoE Vice, and Conviction. Predictions for the two teams that gets out of there.
Is there like a roster sheet on this?
I mean, Wildcard Red is definitely getting out of there.
I will
think
work
EGP
on
is
getting
also
you a
definitely-
public roster sheet. Give me a sec.
I mean,
Producer
EGP
Cubbies,
is also looking
multitask.
very good. I feel like I know that AoE Vice is being coached by the one and only Brand Daddy Colomer, but EGP and Wildcard Red are looking
That would be the roster
very
sheet.
good.
I just dropped it in our chat.
Thank
AoE
you.
Vice is a really interesting team because you have really powerful individuals like Kitsuo.
Concept is good too.
Oh yeah. That I was struggling. I know their top laner was good. So Concept, Kitsuo, who is their mid laner?
I don't know the rest of their players, honestly.
They,
I just know that Brandon is coaching them.
Okay, yeah. So Kitsuo Concept is really cool to have. I mean, I had a fucking big exclamation about Kitsuo playing on Super Sunshine Fruit Basket Warriors, and my heart was crushed when he had to play against Wildcard Black to get into Challengers Uprising. Because
Which, by the way, notably, Wildcard Black failed to qualify for EGL. I think that's a huge story coming in that really hurts their chances.
They were knocked out by
an OQ team.
If I'm not
By Glaive.
Glaive, yeah. They were knocked out by Glaive, which has Zadix.
True.
Or Zaddy, as
I like the guys on that team, but it is a little scuffed that it was a best of one and they got.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, best of one to get in is atrocious, and
Yeah.
I'm really sad for. I mean, like you said, best of one plus Minoy quit the team, so they had to get a sub in, and
Right.
that's like atrocious, and it really sucks because Quacker Robbie Bob got robbed of a chance to prove themselves going to Proving Grounds, or at least to UGP Tier 1.
I mean,
and
you say what you will about the format, they still lost the game. It sucks.
Right.
Yeah.
Whatever. I still think those two players are like insanely underrated and deserve to be on at least a better team.
I agree with you with Quacker.
So, not Robbie Bob though.
Not as much.
I think Yasin's pretty good.
Not as much. Yeah.
Oh man.
I like Robbie Bob.
Yeah.
I do too. But I'm actually like really high in Quacker. I'm really impressed with this play.
Well, okay. I will say this. Robbie Bob's job is a lot harder because the mid lane pool for semi-pro is kind of stacked. There are tons of mid laners that are really good. And so for Robbie Bob to differentiate himself among that pool is very hard. Whereas Quacker, he's really good. And in terms of fresh top lane prospects, there's literally not that many that are just as good. He is matching up the best top laners in Proving Grounds who are all like ex-academy players who have had experience. Because you have Lorem, you have Dokla/Brandini, you have Piecake Lord, you have Chippies.
Surdy.
And Surdy. Well, okay.
Surdy's good.
Okay. Surdy is definitely...
When he's not doing his JoJo Pion impersonation, yeah, he's pretty good.
When Surdy... See, I'm going to quote Kari on this. When Surdy is not experiencing
Space
main
Ghost
character syndrome and ruining a game for EGP because he didn't win lane, then, then it's fine.
Yeah.
I will say that's light flame aside, Surdy is also one of the better
worth investing in.
Top laners worth investing in, and that he's a fresh prospect. So I think like in terms of like the three top laners that I would love to see like get more investment and then like be played around that have not had any academy time at all. Holy shit! Surdy, Quacker, And then I think my third choice would be.
Come on. There's one.
I feel like I'm being debated now.
No, say your answer. I'll give you mine. I agree with the first two.
Yeah.
Is this for like top lane prospects? Yeah.
Top lane prospects that have not had pro experience.
Top lane prospects.
Yeah,
that have...
I've got mine.
Oh my god,
What do you got,
I'm
Rafa?
blanking. Hang on.
Name the team. Name the team. If we can help, give us hints. We're gonna play charades as we're approaching the 2-hour and 30-minute mark of this podcast.
All right.
Jesus.
So, actually, I don't know. Like between those two,
Smacks,
and
who you
then
got?
Jim.
Yeah. Just say yours.
Okay.
Jim.
Okay.
I think Jim's good.
Mine's Faisal.
Oh, of course it is.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. I thought about AOE, but because AOE has been like not performing well, it's like
That's why you picked the better AOE team.
Lamau.
I like Faisal. I think that top's a lane where you can look bad and still be good. But yeah, I mean, I would invest in Quack or Surdy before Faisal, but Faisal's the third for me.
Yeah, I think Surdy's very good.
DMs.
Anyway, all right, so EGL, Group 1. Do any of us... Let's just get through our group predictions, and then we'll wrap up this banger, because I've got to go stand up.
Group 1 is the least interesting for me.
Yes,
I think it's just
Wildcard Red,
Wildcard
EGP. Any other answers?
No, that's just dumb.
All right, that's it. Next one. That group, this is a fun group. Resolve, Cloud9 Amateur. That
it's the same group
continues.
Same group as Risen, yeah?
TSM, and then an OQ team.
This is the
EG
group of death.
instead of C9.
This is literally.
You have this as the group of death? Okay.
This is.
I think the D group is the group of death, actually.
Oh,
I think D and C are a lot more interesting than this.
I'm sorry. Yeah. What I mean is like, this sucks for TSM Amateur because
I want TSM to do well.
Does.
I want TSM to do well, but I don't think they're making it out of this.
Yes, it does. All right. Does anyone not have Resolve C9 getting out?
Those are my teams.
Who does Resolve get revenge, or does C9 get out first?
I think Resolve gets a revenge. Yeah,
So
I do have a jersey right there. So
I think that now that Resolve has fallen against C9 Amateur, and they also fell against who was it, Wildcard in Challengers Uprising?
Yeah,
that they don't want to have a repeat, or at least the 4 core members don't want to have a repeat of Spring Split where they were griefed by internet problems and then they barely qualified into Proving Grounds and then didn't get to make as far of a run. They want to prove that they can be a topper team. So I think this time they are going to have the pop-off performance that they expect of themselves to have. And I think Array has developed a lot, which is why I know they didn't make the top 10 list. I actually put Array on my top 15 because there's a few games where Resolve won, and I actually looked at the top side of the map where normally a lot of the strength came from in prior games. They were kind of slumping a little bit, but Array popped off insanely hard. The laning phases actually looked pretty dominant for the first time, and it's a nice improvement arc for Array because
we know
he
his
was
team
known
positioning
for
is banger.
He was only a teamfight AD carry, but now if he has great laning, he is much more well-rounded. I think if the Resolve games don't prove that to you, go to Gateway Legends, watch University St. Thomas games, where he, even though he was playing with a far worse support, he was doing well. And he's still kicking ass. So
I agree. That's a good read. All right.
Cool.
I am actually going to go with C9, the hot hand. Usually I'm the one that is talking up Resolve, but in this meta, I actually really like how C9's been playing. And I know I was being cautiously optimistic about him, but I like this. I think that I'm waiting for I think Resolve's a better team, but at the moment, C9's playing better, and I want Resolve to prove me otherwise at the moment. And
Makes sense.
APA and Fnatic always get very angry when I doubt them, so.
They call you a snake too. And
Yes.
They do.
I am prediction Judas, so they will backstab.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So,
All right,
so
Group
Cubby is
C.
purposely predicting against Resolve for the sake
their own
of
good.
Resolve doing better. So in a way, it is a Resolve.
Yes.
It is a Resolve buff.
Group C, and they play in the first
right.
round, by the way, or no, not first round, but the second round, or how do I read this spreadsheet? Okay, they do play in the first round. I'm right. Group C.
I have my answer.
Maryville, AoE, Hunter Next, Glaive. Who do you have getting out? This is where things start to get interesting, I think, with the next
I have my
updates.
answer.
What is your answer?
100x first, AoE second.
The fuck? You doubting Maryville
Yep.
like that?
I am discounting Maryville because I want them to do well, and every
All
time
right.
that I hype them up, they shit the bed so hard. So Maryville sucks. They're trash. I don't think they're gonna make it out of this group. They're the worst team. They're gonna get fourth. Glaive's gonna beat them. Yeah.
All right.
So
I love it.
See, Smax is taking the Cubby strat of doubting a team to just
like
the
it.
full max
I like it a lot.
potential.
Smacks
you know what?
horns.
They're not gonna win a single game in EGL.
Oh my god. Holy
There it is.
shit.
All right.
Hey, Julian, Maryville, and Nathan, if you guys win, remember to credit Smacks and at him on Twitter and
Smacks
say
is
thank
going
you
for the anti-caster
No.
first. The caster
I have
buff.
nothing. I have nothing to do with this. Remember, no. This is not a.
Careful, man. Odd Orange will block you if you predict games against them.
That's a funny conversation.
It's a
when-
pretty
when
funny
we
story,
have
yeah.
off screen.
Well, we might end on that one, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I've got Maryville and Hunter Next.
Yeah. No,
I think
was
that
gonna-
with the roster change, I've been waiting for Busio to give me a reason to put him in my prospects list because I'm really high on that kid. And I think he's got a great test going up against Shady. And AoE is a new support. I want to see Instinct and Busio bully around that AoE bot lane. And I think that Dark Wings is sick. But we'll see. I'm pulling for the Hunter Next boys. I think that this team with Gamsu, like, they have potential. I'm just kind of like waiting to see them step up to the level I think they can play at. And I think this is a good chance. I've been high on them the last couple tournaments, and I'm going to go with the reverse Smacks approach here. But,
All right.
yeah.
Maryville are
I
getting
respect
out.
Smacks' approach a lot. It's
Maryville are getting out first seed, 100%.
Yeah, I think Maryville's playing really good league at the moment. They're really playing clean league if you go watch their games. They're looking to qualify for Proving Grounds, I think, through this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously.
Yeah. AoE and 100 Next is a toss-up because
New roster.
I look at 100
Yeah.
Next and this bot lane just fucking smokes so many other bot lanes and Proving Grounds that they could even smoke some of the top bot lanes or at least fight against them.
When they have a good day, because there's a big difference between them having a good day and a bad day, and they are young. Busio is 17, Instinct is 16.
16.
Going on, they might be 17 and 18 now, but they're young kids.
Yeah.
But holy shit, they do some nasty things, and I'm just, like I said, I'm waiting for them to give me a reason to hype them up because I want to hype them up so bad, but sometimes results
we
aren't
hyped them
there.
up on Veterans Podcast.
Yeah,
That's all
they're
good.
worth looking at. They're worth watching. But anyway, Rafa's Group of Death next, Group D.
Yeah. So
It is
I
an
might have
interesting
a hot take here. I think it's gonna be Zeus and Supernova. I think Supernova makes it out.
I don't think that's a hot take at all. I think that is
You think that
I
Zeus
think-
beats out AoE or
I
Supernova
think
beats out
Matty
AoE
Moo
randoms?
is the best jungler
Yeah,
in
I
this
do.
group that is not Griffin. and even then, I think Maddie could play just as well as Griffin. However,
Strompy.
I mean, Strumpus is good.
They lowered the
I
cost of all the mage items.
it- okay.
I've
So
Is
Max,
everything else
Max
about
is
this
banking
meta?
on a mage revitalization in the mid.
Everything else about this meta fucking sucks for Strompist, but they did lower the cost of the mage items. I
Yeah.
think he's good.
I actually really want to see more Lynx play for Supernova. I think that Lynx has shown some nice moments and has a good chance in this group to prove himself against Raheen and Sketchstreams, or not Sketchstreams, Short Hop, who a lot of people are sleeping on Short Hop. This guy had an account, top 15 challenger, like a couple weeks ago. He's good.
And it was a Haikyuu reference.
Yes.
Love Haikyuu.
And because of that, I'm banking on Short Hop to take AoE randoms to a second place finish in this group and get out with Suze. So I'm against you guys on that one, but
yeah,
that's a close. Like Group C and D to me are the interesting ones. So
Yeah.
all right.
Because I think Group C and D have an undisputed number 1 seed, but the second seed is a toss up. There's I don't know what the top lane meta is going to be like for Dignitas Mirage, because I still think that Kishan is also one of the better top laners. I think his champion pool is a little bit far more limited than players like Quacker and Faisal, but when Dragoon is on his champs, he looks so damn commanding. But then
Maybe he will build a hull breaker and we can put that bet to rest.
maybe
Nobody has built it yet in the whole world.
Yeah, DNA definitely changed and got better over the course of the split. They also now have Tau and Light Pulse, which is
Light Pulse from Boise.
Light Pulse is pretty good, and Tau is very good. He played for Radiance as a support, but he was originally an AD for Team Liquid Academy back in the day, and then also he played for UCI under Rex Regalis when Youngbin left. So, and they had some good games. They didn't make it that far though because substitution was kind of hard, but it's nice to have him. I just don't know about Cyber, because Cyber is the cool, like, I played Nocturne in Kha'Zix jungle, and then all the other.
Kha'Zix is pretty good on Wild Rift.
Kha'Zix is pretty good on Wild Rift. Unfortunately, we're not playing Wild Rift Smacks.
How's that climbing been going for you two? You guys plat?
Mark is plat. I'm gold 1.
Plat.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I jumped from plat 4 to plat 2, and then we went on a 5-game loss streak. And
oh yeah, I forgot about that. Maybe I'm gold with 2 actually right now.
Those games are even quicker. The elo drops even faster.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
but you know what?
Measures.
I was looking at our lobbies. We're playing against Emerald players, and when I play
solo
queue, I'm playing against like mid Emeralds. Yeah, so it's a different pacing.
So we're pretty good then, as well.
Our MMR in Wild Rift is really fucking inflated. The unfortunate thing is that it doesn't matter until you like rank up in like one of the divisions, and then you can skip divisions, right? That's why I went from plat 4 to plat 2. That's why you went from
that explains it then, yeah, because I wasn't doing that until we started trio queuing. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that's a conversation for another time. Those are our group predictions.
Yeah. Do we have any closing thoughts on Semi-Pro or RaisingNA episode 6? We are eclipsing the 160-minute mark.
Yeah, we're
getting to Joe Rogan podcast levels of long episode.
It's because we missed a week. You're welcome, everyone, for the extra content. The other episodes will not be like this. We will not have to cover multiple weeks.
Why not?
We took a nice week off for all of us. Well, for Mark, it wasn't a week off. He was working his ass off the whole time.
I'll give this as my closing thoughts, because this also counted as semi-pro. Gateway Legends, I was very impressed and loved seeing collegiate players come out. and they got to play on like land ping, so like zero ping. And
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of players that got to show how, playing on. I know we joke a lot and we try to steer away from the whole like, um,
What just happened?
shit. Sorry, I smacked my knuckle on the desk, and I didn't expect it to hurt that much.
You want me to kiss and make it better?
Yes, here.
This episode
You
started
gotta
to
get
get
up to the
drunk, and I
camera,
love it.
dude. You gotta get up to the camera.
Oh my god. Oh my
thank
god.
Anyway, I think it was super awesome to see plays from players like Spirax, Array, another honorable mention from. There's a player from
ASU.
Aquinas College that I was really impressed. Stevenator.
They're mid there.
Stevenator had some pretty nutty plays too, and I was like, "Holy shit!" Like.
All right. No love for my mid-laners Pentakill on Lee Sin or the
No,
Diego play,
no,
but
no,
that's fine.
no. That I was setting up for you, dude, because you're also there. So why don't you, dude?
Perfect.
By the way,
Plutx role swap support to jungle got the only Baron steal at the event, and he was a role swap support to jungle player. That's pretty fucking awesome.
X.
He
What
is going to end up on a team, and also my other support starts over him, and I have a reason for that. So you should look at both of them.
Cleve and Plutx, baby.
Anyway, they're both really good. It's
Yeah.
a good problem to have, but yeah. Anyway,
Well, this has been a fun 3 hours.
yeah, the LAN's been
almost.
cool. The LAN was cool. It's a pleasure to meet Mark, and glad we had a good trip, and glad we had a
Yeah.
good episode in. And we're looking forward to when we can do one of these episodes in person. So that'll be cool too. Anyway, Smack's gonna walk us out.
Yes. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. It's been a very long episode, like we mentioned. Not every episode will be like this, but we wanted to catch up on everything that we missed during time off. Hopefully, you didn't miss us too much. We will be back in the swing of things for both this show and Proving Grounds Pod. I personally am not going to be doing EGL, so I'm going to be making sure that we're doing all of this stuff. I'm going to be doing all of that behind the scenes and getting the guests and everything. So. You're welcome, you guys, and you're welcome, Cubby, for that too. Eventually. Speaking of our other stuff, you can follow us on Twitter at pgroundspod, where we tweet some updates of everything that we're doing, the show and Proving Grounds Pod, which will happen on Thursdays and Sundays, respectively. We're not changing that. We were thinking about changing Proving Grounds Pod, but we're not needing to do that yet.
Yeah, we're gonna try and hit Thursday this week. The veteran show is maybe gonna be on Tuesday. We'll see. We got to talk to him about that. But yeah.
Well, we'll update you guys. If the veteran show is gonna be on Thursdays, then we might switch the Proving Grounds Pod to Tuesdays.
Yeah, we don't know what the schedule's gonna be for that.
Yeah,
but yeah,
we will have updates later in the week. And if all things go smoothly, you won't get an update, and we'll just be live on Thursday. So tune in there. We have both of our shows live on our YouTube channel. If you want to check that out, that's just Proving Grounds Pod, and that's where that is. And yeah, we have all this on our audio platforms too. We've got Spotify, Apple, Anchor, and Google. So check those out there. And we will see you guys all next time. I hope you have a great night and a great rest of your week. Watch EGL, watch Academy, watch LCS. We'll be there. Hope you are too. Bye.